Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 102. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Today, we're going to be talking about Smash World Tour, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the Game Awards, Overwatch 2, Sonic Frontiers, James Gunn's plan for the DCU, a Phase 4 Marvel tier list, and more. So first, let's give you guys an update on the Smash World Tour stuff that's been going on. There was a few updates. For example, Panda did respond to everything that was going on at first, and it was pretty much a PR answer. And it brought up Alan's actions with Beyond the Summit, created a dedicated team to operate Panda Cup in the meantime, corroborating with Nintendo's earlier response. So obviously, no one liked this response. There's more quote retweets than likes, so that obviously shows what's going on there. But yeah, shortly after this, Alan was effectively removed as CEO of Panda Global. But yeah, definitely, something that they thought they were going to get away with, sort of being like, hey guys, we're just saying what Nintendo said. And then it ended up backfiring at them in the end, which I don't see why that wouldn't have happened. I feel like the Smash community is very vocal of what the majority opinion is, and obviously just even before these statements came out and before he was even removed as CEO, it was very clear that no one really liked Alan and sort of what he did, because most of the time when it comes to this sort of drama, it's about he said, she said. And because Smash World Tour came out first and said that this is what happened, and then they were sort of slow on the response, this is the product of that, if you will.
Yeah, but their statement didn't help at all. Like, their PR statement was very much nothing. And after that dropped, everyone just left. I felt like every time I looked on Twitter or the Smash Reddit, there's like new player left, like someone else left. It was crazy. But yeah, because it didn't really address anything. It was just kind of like a nothing statement. And then, Alan being removed as CEO, I don't know if that really means much in the end, because apparently he owns it. Like he made Panda. So he's probably still going to always have some influence on the company, even if he's not CEO. We've seen this with a lot of other companies, at least with gaming wise, like a lot of the Blizzard stuff, like a lot of those people are still there. They're just not in front of your face anymore, but they're still there, they still have their job and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how much that really helps that he's not CEO anymore. Like, the damage is still done. The Smash community basically lost two big tournaments for no reason, because they're assholes about it. So yeah, either way, it's just kind of a shitty situation.
Yeah, I think that if they were going to come out with this statement, I think one of the replies, and the one that pretty much he was removed as CEO, it was this should have been the first response, which is what I agree with. I think that having him still be in the company was something that people were like, okay, yeah, he's still part of the company, I'm gone, kind of thing. And now that Panda pretty much has lost almost, if not all of their players in Smash Brothers, it sort of shows that, yeah, no one's really going to mess with Panda anymore in terms of Smash Brothers anyways. I'm not sure what's going on with the other esports or anything like that, but I know IDBW left, and Wadi left, and pretty much every single major player in the organization left. So yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do to recover, if they can even at all, because it's pretty much a sinking ship at this point when it comes to a esports organization, because most of them are pretty much non-profitable. And even with a org like TSM, they had that whole FTX stuff that's still ongoing, and they're not sure if they're going to recover their money from that or anything like that. I think the only one that's really profitable is 100 Thieves, and that's because of the merch that they sell. I'm guilty of that. I'll admit it. I buy their merch. It's good merch. Yeah. It's expensive though, but that's pretty much how they're able to run that business profitably. Every single other esports organization pretty much is either going even or on a loss. And I think that because one of the more recent Trash Taste episodes, Moist Critical, he talked about Moist Esports, and he was like, yeah, nah, this shit's just bleeding money. And I'm like, that sounds about right. So with Panda Global now pretty much on the downswing, I wonder how long they're going to stick around and how they're going to recover, if at all.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these esports things are kind of based on kind of goodwill and kind of just providing I guess good games or whatever. yeah, so like I feel like if you can't provide that, if you don't have any good community support,
Yeah.
you know, if you don't have any revenue of, you know, of money, like, you know, no merch or whatever, then you're kind of just donezo. Like I know they did like pre-orders for like some controller or something. I guess that's not
Yeah.
happening anymore because they're not gonna have any money left. So yeah, like it definitely feels like if you're, especially with more of a, I don't want to call Smash like niche, but I guess it's smaller than something like League or, you know, some of the other bigger esports games. So I feel like angering your only niche audience, yeah, you're just gonna go out of business, right? Because I'm like, I don't know what else you could do about that. Because you know, I feel like there's no way you could really recoup the Smash community. Like they're gonna have to find another game at this point if they're still like active anymore. So yeah, I think like having a community on your side when you're like this sort of like organization is the best thing you could do. And they were doing a good job at that at first. Like I heard they were really helping the Smash community and stuff until all this stuff happened. So, you know, it's really easy to lose goodwill. Like, it's, you know, it's hard to build it up and it's really easy to lose it. So I guess they just learned the hard way here.
Yeah, that's pretty much with anything on the internet, I feel,
Yeah.
you know, especially when it comes to, like you said, with Panda Global, they were very much in this niche, you know, very dedicated to the Smash community. And because Alan decided to do all of this stuff, they sort of ruined that. And all of the players decided to leave and sort of just not associate themselves with Panda, respectively. And I think that that was obviously like a very good move from them. I wonder how these players are going to recover, if they're going to find a new org. I know IDBW did find a new org under to sort of represent. But yeah, you know, Panda Global, we'll see how long they stick around, because they were, like you said, very much in the Smash community. They were trying to sort of better the community with the controllers. I know that the Switch, they had like a dock where you could like plug in the GameCube ports like directly, which was pretty cool. So they were doing a lot of stuff to sort of help Smash players, you know, play and compete. But now, you know, it's sort of like, what's going to happen now? Who knows, if anything at all, because, you know, Panda doesn't have a lot of, I guess, notoriety outside of Smash, in my eyes anyways. You know, I'm sure that they have other teams and other players representing Panda, but when I think of Panda, I think of, you know, Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing in this point, because like now you pissed them all off, so you kind of destroyed everything you built. So yeah, and then Alan wrote like a whole 30-page thing. We haven't read all of it, but apparently there's a lot of contradictions and stuff, and like a lot of people just said it's bullshit. Which I could believe. You know, also it's kind of weird that he didn't like lead with this, right? Because I feel like if the Smash World Tour people were lying, like he's saying or whatever, I felt like this would have been the first thing he said, right? Like, why did he wait? Like, I know, like, oh, a guy gathered the documents and stuff, but I still feel like you released that PR statement, which was basically nothing, and now you're like, okay, now they're lying and stuff. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something you would do first or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely seems a little weird and a little off that they were doing things out of order. You know, if Alan led with this other, you know, Medium article sort of document, 30 pages long, which most people did not read. I'm sure that a lot more people did watch the Mogul Mail video, though, because Ludwig is a former Melee player, a former sort of, you know, Smash Brothers competitor, and he's still in the scene because he's done many tournaments for them, and he's, you know, pretty much one of the reasons why there were tournaments this year as well. I know that a tournament got canceled, and then he hosted his own like very last minute, and he even said it himself in that Mogul Mail video, which I only watched like 10 minutes of. He even said that he bleeds money when he hosts those events, but he doesn't care because he wants the community to thrive and sort of have a place to compete and have fun and, you know, continue playing Smash Brothers. And, you know, I'm just skimming through this doc right now, and, you know, he does have evidence, quote unquote, and a lot of it is just like DMs and sort of crop stuff that, you know, I'm not sure if he got permission from everyone to sort of, you know, leak these out there, but, you know, some of it is sort of redacted, some of it's blurred out, you know, and other people have come out from, you know, the people who he has put in here and been like, hey, you know, like, this isn't exactly correct. This isn't exactly 100%, you know, accurate. And, you know, like Damian said, we didn't read this. And I'm sure that a lot of people didn't read it for a good reason, because it's like, what can you say now that hasn't already shown within your actions, which I think is understandable, because it's like actions speak a lot louder than words, and the way that they were going about this situation was waiting for Nintendo to respond and then making their own response, which was really nothing, and then okay, now we're going to let him go as CEO to sort of hopefully save Panda. And now it's like, okay, now that I'm sort of alone and solo on this, I'm going to release my 30-something page document instead of leading with that and sort of showing that, hey, like this is everything that I have to offer. Obviously, he's like spiteful and fucking angry. Who wouldn't be? But then again, you can lead it all back to him because this is sort of the culmination of his actions. I'm not saying that Smash World Tour and VG Bootcamp and Gimmer and all of those people are good guys. They're 100% not. But what, the picture that Dr. Allen has sort of painted himself has been as the villain, and it's sort of hard to dig yourself out of that. When I said earlier that the Smash community is very dedicated and very vocal of who's the good guy and who's not most of the time, and it's very hard to dig yourself out of that bad guy persona.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Like, I feel like that's just the internet though. Like, I feel like the internet's kind of like, once you're like the bad guy, you're basically like the bad guy forever. So it's really hard to kind of like dig yourself out of that hole. And I feel like, and especially because, Panda is a business, like, I feel like there's no way they could like actually recover from it and just like kind of go out of business. Because if it's just like a dude, like a YouTuber or whatever, usually just disappear. You never hear about them again. And it's like, there's not that much repercussions for them besides, all that stuff. But for Panda, it's like, it's an actual business and a bunch of people are going to lose their jobs, which sucks. But, I think that's just what's going to end up happening,
Yeah. This is just the sort of catalyst. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but, this is just like the domino effect of what happens when someone very high up sort of messes up and then everyone else sort of falls behind them.
Yeah. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, 100%. I think that I'm not sure if we're going to see anything else. It's been 10 days since Dr. Allen's statement, so I wonder what's going to happen from here, if anything at all, because a lot of the, I guess, like beginning stuff was about like Smash World Tour didn't have to cancel the finals, but maybe they did it to garner sympathy from the community and stuff. So obviously, there's multiple sides to this story, and for this one in particular, there's 3 sides. There's Smash World Tour, Panda, and then Nintendo, and then somewhere in there is the truth. And I think that, maybe what Nintendo was saying to Smash World Tour was one thing, and then Nintendo thought of another thing or whatever. But yeah, there's just still a lot going on here.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be more stuff in the future. I'm sure it's not the last we're going to hear about this again, like we said last time. I'm sure more stuff are going to pop up. So yeah.
Smash Brothers, that
Drama.
community of players and sort of everyone around it, they will do whatever they can to fucking play at a tournament and sort of have the people around them have their crew and shit like that. So if you ever been to a Smash Major or even at your local tournament, you'll know.
All right, so I guess we could jump into the general news. So first, we got the Last of Us HBO trailer. So this is like, I guess, the first actual trailer because everything else has been like little teasers and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's pretty much matching, the tone of the games and stuff. A lot of set pieces look like from the games. We see a lot of characters from the. Again, I've played only the first game. I haven't played the second game yet. It looks like we see the Left Behind DLC as well. I guess is going to be a part of this first season as well. So it looks like it might just encompass maybe all of the first game.
Yes.
I still feel like, that's a lot. I don't know how many episodes is actually supposed to be. I'm
not sure if it's confirmed yet, but
okay.
Yeah. If I had to guess, comparing to other HBO shows, it'd be like less than 10, maybe 10. I don't know.
Yeah, usually they're like 8, right, or something like that. But they're like an hour.
I mean,
I guess they could do it in that amount of time because when you take away the actual gameplay part, like it should be pretty straightforward, So you don't have to go scavenging for like metal or whatever. It's gonna be pretty straight to the point. But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. It looks like it has some humor in there too. Ellie being a little weirdo, like she was in the game as well. So that's cool to see. I think the CGI looks pretty good. Like the bloater or whatever at the end and like the clickers and shit. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Again, I think Naughty Dog stuff makes the most sense to make into this like into live action movies or shows. I'm surprised they blundered the Uncharted movie as much as they did, because it seemed very straightforward, but whatever. But this looks a lot more faithful to like the source material. It looks like the tone, the story, like it looks like everything is a lot more I don't know what the word is. I guess like guided, like they know what they're doing this time. They're not just doing whatever. Because Uncharted was like in development hell forever for some reason, but this looks like it's definitely had a lot smoother process, and it looks like it's gonna be a good show. Again, I don't know how much I'm gonna get out of it because I've already played the game, but I'm hoping all the acting and performances are good, and I hope it's as enjoyable as the game story was. So
yeah. I mean, I love The Last of Us 1. I still remember myself playing it upstairs in my bedroom, having a chair in front of the TV on my PlayStation 3, playing that game for the first time and just having so much fun with it. And then when I got my PS4, the remake or the remaster, if you will, was bundled with it. So I replayed it again. And now with part 1, I still have to buy that and play it for myself. But, The Last of Us is such a well-rounded story, in my opinion, that making it into a TV show it's going to be great. And this first trailer really does show that they're not necessarily copying and pasting what the games did. They're taking some liberties with it. Obviously, Pedro Pascal, he is Latino, so they are using that element in the show and making certain other characters people of color, which I think is, very, very good. I really do like that. We're able to, change certain things about the show to make it, much more diverse, and sort of having that, be a way to show, I guess, like normies that, like these characters could be literally anyone, and it's not just the white man's story, if you will. But besides that point, it looks like that they're doing some other stuff. Ellie's being a lot more, I guess, like kitty and jokey. You do need to have those moments in a TV show, I feel, because not having them, I guess you can have them within the game, but the game was a lot more, I guess, serious. There were moments of jokiness and sort of, kidding around and stuff like that with Bill's magazines and shit. But, it seems like with this show, like that one scene with Ellie doing like the clicker noises and, no one really laughing. I really did like that. And also, I think that there was a scene with like some older people. I don't think that was in the original game. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it looks like that they're going to introduce maybe some new characters, maybe like a subplot, and maybe take something out. I don't know. As long as it fits the pacing of the story and whatever that they're trying to pull off and do, I'm all for it, honestly. I think that, like you said, this one seems to have a lot more of a direction with it. I watched Uncharted in fucking theaters, and I was just like, okay, well, you got to convince me that Tom Holland is Nathan Drake. And I'm like, all right, he's wearing the Nathan Drake outfit, but he's not Nathan Drake necessarily. And you got fucking, what's his name? I forget his name. God damn it. You have his name playing
Mark
Sully.
Wahlberg?
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg playing Sully, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a very different version of Sully. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is like its own like separate universe of Uncharted, I guess. That's how I'm going to treat it as. This isn't like a prequel thing that they're trying to sell me. But yeah, this show definitely looks a lot more faithful, and it looks like that the actors and the everyone behind the scenes loves The Last of Us now. And, seeing them at the Game Awards sort of like presenting that one award was very, very cool. So, I'm excited for this show. This first trailer really does give, I think, everyone a good idea of what the show's going to be about. Having Joel being like, nope, you're cargo. First, right off the bat, I'm like, yep, that's Joel. He's going to change by episode 8. I can guarantee that. But yeah, very, very excited for this HBO Max series, which will premiere on January 15th. And I assume will go on weekly for the next 8 or so weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. I still need to play 2 now. So, yeah.
You won't need to play that anytime soon for the show. Anyways.
I probably got like 2 years until that happens. So,
all right. So moving on from there, some exciting Spider-Man news. We got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the first official trailer. Holy fuck! It has 25 million views already.
Holy shit! Yeah, you're right.
So that just shows how excited people are for this movie, including myself. Obviously, this trailer was something that me and Damian have been looking forward to for a long time because we both love Into the Spider-Verse. It's probably our favorite Spider-Man movie in general. And this trailer really does show that Miles is growing up and he is becoming older. And it looks like that his mom is going to play a much more pivotal role within the film, which I think is pretty cool. Having the father be sort of like one of the key figures to push him into being Spider-Man. And now we have, the mother figure doing that within this movie. I'm pretty sure they don't know that he's Spider-Man, so obviously there's that dynamic there. Maybe they'll show us that maybe he gets caught or some shit, and then they actually do know. But we still don't know a lot of what's going on within this movie. All we know is that Miles pissed off every fucking Spider-Man in the multiverse, and they're all trying to kill him or something. So that seems to be a interesting plot point. We don't know exactly why, but seeing those flashback sequences of the first movie going into the second one, I'm all for it. If you are a Spider-Man nerd like us, you'll see many different Spider-Man, including the PS4 version. I believe the PS1 game is in there as well, Spider-Man Unlimited. And obviously the newer characters with Spider-Punk and Spider-Woman, or what's her name? I forget. But yeah,
there's a lot of Spider people.
Yes, there's a ton of Spider people. And if you are a huge Spider-Man nerd, you will probably notice all of them. But yeah, obviously Gwen Stacy's back, Peter B. Parker's back. So I cannot wait to see on how this plot advances. Obviously, this is the first part of a 2-part sort of like movie. So I wonder on how that's going to play out. But yeah, very, very excited. I do like Miles's new suit, having a sort of slight iteration of it. I'm not a huge fan of 2099's new suit. I really do like the classic one that we saw from the end credit scene, but it is what it is. I'm sure that the movie's still gonna fucking kick ass and be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, like 2099 is like super bulky in this one. he's a big lad. But yeah, dude, I am very excited for this movie. I kind of like they didn't really give too much away, because I feel like a lot of trailers, they basically tell you the whole movie, and there's no reason to even watch the movie at that point. I think this does a good job setting the tone, showing like the basic premise being that I guess they did piss off every Spider-Man, Spider people, and now they're all running. I don't know why, but that's good. I think trailers are, I like watching game trailers, because I like getting the idea for the gameplay. There's more to absorb for that. For movies, you basically want to see one thing and you're out. It's like, okay, I'm alright, interested. That's all I really need to see. I'm gonna watch the movie now, because that's all there is. It's the movie. So yeah, I think the trailer did a good job selling me a Ravi. Like I'm super excited for this movie. The animation still looks amazing. I'm glad all the old characters are back, like Gwen and Peter B. Parker. I love both of them. And yeah, it just looks great. Spider-Verse was like, I think it still is my favorite Spider-Man movie, and probably like my favorite animated movie as well. Like it's very, very good. So I'm really hoping they stick the landing for this one and the second part. And yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it is definitely one of, if not my most anticipated movie for next year, and it's coming out in June. So we don't have an exact date, but it is going to be sometime within June.
I'm very excited. Oh, I guess we should say that. I guess we have it here. Do you want to just talk about it now? Because it's like Spider-Man.
Oh, what? Marvel Spider-Man? Yeah. Okay. You go.
Okay, so so Spider-Man 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac is slated for fall 2023. They kind of just said it in a blog post. I'm guessing it's because it actually got leaked like a week before. So I'm guessing they like, fuck it. We'll just say the trailer. We'll just say the release date now. Because why not? Because we showed Spider-Verse, you might as well like tell them when this game is coming out. But there's no trailer or anything. It's just like it's coming out fall. So it's double Spider-Man goodness, I guess. So it's gonna be a good time to be a Spider-Man fan. But yeah, that's really all there is. There's no trailer or anything. Just it's coming out fall. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that it is good that we actually now have a concrete window for it, because I know that at the end of the initial sort of like showcase of it, it was just 2023. I still remember watching this trailer in like, what's it called? The fucking hotel room with the boys at fucking Riptide or whatever. I forget. But yeah, it's been a long time since we have seen anything for this game, which I am okay with, because it's probably just going to be more Spider-Man. And I have full faith within Insomniac Games to create, the sequel that they want to create, especially now that we have 2 Spider-Men at work. So yeah, 2023 in the fall, giving them probably the most time they can for 2023. I'm all for it. Whatever they show for this game is probably going to be hopefully the first quarter, if not during the second quarter of next year, because at that point they should have something to show for us. Hopefully, if they need more time, they need more time. But I'm willing to wait for as long as possible for this game, because this is something that I loved the first game, and that is probably one of, if not my favorite PlayStation game that has like a license attached to it. And this game seems like it's going to be a whole lot better just because you got Miles introduced, you got the Venom symbiote and everything like that, and how that's going to play into it. So, yeah, like you said, because it was leaked, they were like, all right, fuck it, we'll just say it in this blog post at the very top, by the way, because they were like, that's like probably the
what
thing
you came
people
for.
Yeah, that's probably what people are most excited for. So yeah, in the fall, I'm down for it. That is probably a whole year from now, if not less than that. So yeah, cannot wait.
Yeah, probably coming November. So yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
So next bit of news we got is Xbox increasing their first party titles for the Series X and S to $70 for 2023. So yeah, they're pretty much following the footsteps of Sony. I'm sure they wanted to wait to see how well Sony sort of moving with that for the PS5 games that would have done. Obviously, it's going to do fucking well because what are you going to do as a PlayStation 5 owner when you have no games and all of the first-party titles are now $70? You're just going to pay that $70. Like, you have no other choice but to really do that. I think a $10 increase isn't going to turn off that many people. I think that's what I said initially when it was jumping to that price. I think going up to like $80 to $100, I think that's what when we originally said that was going to be like way too much for like a single game with like no, sort of like extra DLC or like a sort of like deluxe edition, if you will. So, $70, I think that's like completely fine because we've been staying at $60 for the longest time and games are only getting more and more expensive to make. And with the Xbox in particular, they have Game Pass and they put pretty much every single new game on Game Pass. So it is going to be very interesting to see who still buys games through this method with $70 in mind. I'm sure that there's going to be some games that are not going to be on there, but I know that Xbox, especially with their first party titles, they're like very friendly to be like, yeah, it's just on Game Pass launch day, so if you want to just pay the Game Pass monthly fee instead of paying the $70, you can do that. So
yeah, I'm considering to get Game Pass again just because like that feature where like new games are just there and you only gotta pay like $10 a month for it for PC. I think it's a little more expensive if you actually have the Xbox, but yeah, it's just such a good deal that I guess them raising the prices don't really matter because if you have Game Pass, like nothing matters. You just kind of play it anyway. Obviously you don't own the game, so if you want to actually own it, you're gonna have to pay up, but I feel like for certain single player games, I feel like all you really need is a one playthrough, and that's about it, and then you're good. So yeah, I'm definitely considering getting Game Pass again because it was a great service. But now that I could play like newer games, like just like there, like I do want to play Starfield when it does come out. So yeah, I'll probably just get it through Game Pass and play it through that. So yeah, I think that's still a great deal they have here. And I mean, $70 is always gonna like kind of sting a bit because whenever I'm doing my mental math of how much I'm going to spend on a game, I'm like, shit, wait, that's $70 now, right? Okay. So, yeah, it's always going to be kind of whatever, but it hasn't bothered me too much. Again, if it does go up to like 80 or something, then I'm like, okay, we gotta calm down a bit here. Just because I feel like, consumers are going to expect your game to be the pinnacle of gaming at that point. Like you really have to make sure that game is not buggy, it has everything content complete at launch.
Yeah,
but we all know games they kind of don't do that. So yeah, I think like asking for higher prices, you're really gonna expect gamers to have more higher expectations, which is fair. So yeah, I feel like if you're gonna ask for more money, please have these games more polished, don't rush them out as much, please. But yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, every game has to be like God of War Ragnarok at this point.
Basically, I mean, God of War Ragnarok has to be one of the most polished games I've ever played, and they patched that shit like 4 times since I was playing it. I'm like, my lord, Pokemon patches stuff like once, and that game needs it so much more. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the gaming landscape moves forward in terms of these prices. So.
Yeah, I mean, at the bottom of this IGN article, it was $60 for a while because of the Xbox 360 and PS3 era, and prior to that it was $50. And if you see ads from like the NES and N64 era, they were like way high. They were around the prices that we are now with like $60 to $70. So
that's because cartridge based things were like way more expensive than disc based. So
and
that was back then.
Yeah.
That shit was like $100.
now it's like, well, the games are getting more expensive to make, so I'm like, oh, okay, like that makes more sense. If I have to pay 10 extra more dollars, I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess.
Right. I mean, I personally don't mind as long as I have a good time. I don't really mind that much, and if it's a good game. But yeah, it's definitely gonna take more consideration.
Yeah, it's gonna stink for some people.
Alrighty, so we got some news at Netflix. So there's gonna be a live action My Hero movie. I don't know why, but apparently yes, they are doing a live action My Hero movie. So I mean, it's kind of weird that they're doing this. One, My Hero hasn't had. I mean, I know the newest arc is good, but for the last year or two, it's been kind of not been in the greatest position in people's minds. A lot of people have been kind of down on the show and stuff, and it hasn't really been a great time. But I guess now they want to do a thing for it. He's also in Fortnite now, so that's a thing as Fortnite. Well. I just don't know why. I feel like a lot of these live action ones, I just feel like there's no reason for them to really exist. Again, they're just doing what the show does, but worse in almost every way. It's like the Death Note. Death Note was just kind of bad. Cowboy Bebop is also the same way. I just feel like you're not really gaining anything, especially with a show that's way more fantastical like this. Like Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, that's more like a sci-fi thing, and the other one's more like a, I guess like a thriller or whatever. This is you're gonna have to have some big ass special effects for some of these quirks and shit. And the Netflix budget is always gonna look kind of not great. So I don't know. I feel like this one's definitely taking more than it could chew. And it's just gonna end up like Dragon Ball Evolution at this point. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I don't think anything's ever gonna be as terrible as Dragon Ball Evolution. But
that's true.
Live action adaptations with Netflix with anime. Name a better duo that's bound to fail. It is what it is. I think that when it comes to My Hero in particular, with the current arc that's going on, I know that a lot of people are very excited for it and very happy with what's happening. And as a manga reader, I knew about this arc a year ago, and I was like, this shit's gonna be fucking insane when this stuff gets animated and people actually see what's going on. Because I'm behind on the anime because I've just been so busy, and I know what's gonna happen, but seeing it animated because I'm 2 or 3 episodes deep, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, because not now I'm remembering of what I read a few months ago or whatever the case is. So having it be adapted into live action, I'm not entirely sure. I remember watching some YouTube videos of someone creating their own sort of My Hero style video. I think we watched that at my house. I don't know if you were there, but yeah, I was just so. Okay, this is pretty cool special effects, but I'm not sold on it or 100% in on it kind of thing, because I feel when it comes to adapting anime into live action, there's a lot of things that are just weird and quirky. That's just I don't know if you could really do that within live action. It's 2 different things in a sense. Which you can also say the same thing between anime and manga. I know Giga just made a video. When it comes to when you make a anime adaptation from a manga, there's certain things that you can do differently. There's certain things you can add, etc., etc. His video obviously explains that a lot better than I am right now, but I think that when it comes to My Hero in particular, this is a series that, might make sense for some people that be oh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and, the DC movies, they're popping off and shit. So, why don't we just adapt this anime or manga that's about superheroes? Why don't we just do that? And it's oh, okay. I don't know how well that's going to work necessarily, because, this is a anime and sort of it's a little different than superheroes in general. There's certain things going on here that are different from a Iron Man movie or a Captain America movie. These are kids that are in training to become superheroes, and that's sort of the main focal point of it.
Yeah, dude, sky high.
Sky high. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure on how well it's gonna do, if at all. Obviously, we've seen every single other anime adaptation on Netflix kind of just bomb and fail and just be really, really bad. So, yeah, we'll see on how this one plays out. I know that recently they did a One Piece live action thing, and I don't know how well that did. I don't even know if that's on Netflix or if it's on something else, but I know that that was something that has recently been done and sort of finished. But yeah, going back to your point on My Hero sort of being in the dumps, I mean, we just have to remind ourselves that My Hero is one of the biggest anime out there, whether we like to admit it or not. There's 20 spin-offs of it They make
Oh, yeah.
movies of it like every other year and shit like that. So, there's a reason why it's so big and so popular, because it really is a gateway anime. Like
Yeah.
for me personally, this was my gateway anime back into it, after my younger days of Dragon Ball and Pokemon and everything like that. This was the first show that I watched because I was like, oh yeah, it's like anime with superheroes. Let's see how it goes. And
It changed your life forever.
kind of, in a sense. I think Hunter x Hunter did that more, but yeah, My Hero's been a little wishy-washy.
Yeah, like I mean, I never hated it as much as a lot of other people do. I've always like kind of liked it, even during like I guess the bad. Like I haven't caught up with it in a while, so I really need to get on that. But I've always like kind of always liked it. I don't know why. I just do. Maybe I feel more attached to it just because it was also kind of like a gateway anime for me as well. I guess for more seasonal stuff, like Gurren Lagann was the first one I watched that wasn't Dragon Ball, and that made me like aware of anime more. But yeah, My Hero was the first one that really was like, okay, there's like there's a lot of these animes, huh? So, but yeah, this is probably not going to do well, but hopefully My Hero as a whole does. I mean, they should really just animate vigilantes at this point, like after the the main show's done. That would be kind of cool. But if not, I guess I'll read it. But I guess we'll see.
All right, so last bit of general news we got is Amazon has ordered a God of War live action series. So yeah, obviously with hopefully the success of The Last of Us on HBO Max, we'll see what Amazon can do with God of War. Obviously they've done The Boys, and that is a very bloody show and very violent and R-rated, so I'm not sure if they're gonna have Kratos say fuck every episode, but it's probably gonna be like,
I mean, he's gonna chop some heads off. I hope.
Yeah, he's gonna chop some heads off. There's gonna be a lot of blood. There's gonna be a lot of gores. There's gonna be shit that maybe they're gonna adapt from the newer God of War games and go from there, or maybe they're gonna go all the way back to the PS2 days. But
apparently they said that they're starting from the Norse stuff, so no Greek stuff, which is kind of weird because a lot of the story beats from the two Norse games kind of take a lot from the older games, but whatever.
Maybe they'll go back and forth. Maybe
they could do flashbacks or something.
Yeah, maybe they'll take advantage of the show's televised format and sort of go from there. I think that could be kind of neat. Not actually starting all the way back then, but actually showing Kratos go through sort of I guess raising Atreus, and then having a flashback of when he was back in Greece, maybe becoming the God of War and shit like that. Just brief moments sprinkled in for the fans of the God of War series. But I wonder on how well this show's gonna do for like normies, if you will, because Amazon Prime Video in particular, I feel like most people who watch it aren't normies. They're nerds. People who watch The Boys, people who watch Invincible. They know about like pop culture and sort of geek culture and shit like that. They're not everyday Netflix watcher Joe just going on Netflix and watching whatever the hell is going on. I feel like most people who use Amazon Prime Video, it's because they have Amazon Prime and then they have a show on there that they want to watch. Yeah,
like I feel like Last of Us works just because it's like it's very simple for any normal person to understand. Like it's a zombie thing, right? With like you have your characters and stuff. Obviously, like the mushroom people are different from regular zombies, but they're basically zombies. God of War has a lot more lore to it. It's a lot weirder. Like you look at Kratos, it's like, oh, look at that guy. So like, yeah, it's definitely a lot more. I don't know if it's gonna be as accessible as sound like Last of Us or whatever in terms of like video game shows or whatever. But I think if it reached that certain like a good enough budget and you're able to do a lot of cool fantasy stuff, like people love fantasy, so I'm sure like this could do well if they put the effort into it. But yeah, it's definitely, I feel like it's gonna take more work to get like the normal Joe to really watch it. So yeah,
I mean they had the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, which I think sort of speaks to my point of like Amazon Prime Videos for fucking nerds kind of thing. Not in a bad way, but like people who are into video games, comics, etc., like us, they would go to Amazon Prime Video to go out of their way to watch whatever show they want to watch, even though the fucking Prime Video player's dog shit. But it is what it is. Disney Plus is not any better either, but that's besides the point.
Disney Plus is basically a Star Wars Marvel fan thing, so yeah.
All right.
Hopefully it does well. That's all.
moving on from there, we got the Game Awards. So before we get into the winners of that night, we're going to talk about some of the announcements. We have some right here in our Google Doc. We're not going to go through every single one. We're just going to go and pick and choose. So I'll go first. The first one I want to talk about is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I think that this was a very, very cool trailer. Showed us some gameplay and sort of showed where Cal was after the first game, which I still have not finished. I definitely need to go back and finish that game. But, you know, seeing him being a lot older and seeing him get his new lightsaber and sort of see that the gameplay is still more or less the same from the first game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It looks a lot more open.
Yeah.
Than the first game, which is not to be expected.
I think, you know, most games that, you know, are coming out these days, they all want to be open world for good or bad reasons, you know, just because that is sort of like the way to get people to play your game for the longest of hours. Even fucking Sonic did that, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, you know, Jedi Survivor, I am looking forward to. Hopefully I will finish the first game before then, but I believe they also announced a release date for this.
Yeah, it's like in March or something.
March 15, 2023, which is pretty soon. And yeah, you know, it's going to be $70, and then there's going to be a deluxe edition as well if you're interested.
Yeah, no, the game looks great. It's probably the one that surprised me the most of the show. Obviously, I knew it was going to happen already, but and I was very looking forward to it. I didn't think it was going to be bad or anything. But the gameplay of the show looked really good. Like the glow up looks like, and I thought the original game looked good, but this game looks beautiful. You know, the combat looks a lot faster. You know, like I said, the area looks a lot more open. I don't think it's gonna be open world, but it looks like the just the areas are just bigger. Since the first game is a lot more not linear, but you know, it's a lot more constricted, I guess. So yeah, it looks great. I'm very, very excited for this game. You know, I think good Star Wars games are always a good treat because, you know, who doesn't want to be a Jedi and shit? So yeah, it's looking really good. And I'm very excited for it. I guess the biggest surprise for me was fucking Hades 2. I really didn't expect that. You know, Hades came out like only 2 years ago, and Supergiant has never really made a sequel before. And now they're doing it, and I'm totally okay with that. I loved Hades like a lot. You know, I think there was some things that could have done better in the roguelite element, but you know, I thought the action was great, the story and voice acting were really good, the music is fantastic. It looks like all that's really transferring to this game. Really, the only thing I hope for in this game is a better, I guess, like roguelike systems to make the game feel a bit more different between each run. Because I always feel like that's the sort of the issue with adding story to a roguelite. Like I feel like maybe you sacrifice more of its roguelike-y elements to have more story. So yeah, I feel like if they could find a better balance between the two, then this game would be fucking really good. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Very, very big surprise for me. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's supposed to be in early access next year, like the first game was. So I'll probably buy it. I probably won't play it until it's actually out, but I'll give them my money. They deserve it. So yeah.
Next one I want to talk about real quick. Last of Us Part 1 coming to PC. I think that was, if not the main reason why they made Part 1, in my opinion. I feel like that they were like, well, we want Last of Us on the PC, but we can't just put Part 2 on there. So we'll just make Part 1 again and then release on PS5 and then put it to PC. Yeah, I'm down with it. I think that this will give more people a chance to play it. Like you were, Damian, you haven't played it for years. And I'm sure that there's people who still haven't played it and probably know the story of The Last of Us. So I think that this will give those people who are PC gamers want to hopefully try it out.
Yeah, I think like almost most of the PlayStation lineup is going to PC at this point. Like, I feel like Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think is on PC yet, and like Ratchet, I think those are the only two that aren't on PC yet. Like almost everything else has been on PC, which is pretty cool. So you know, give everyone more accessibility, let people play that shit anywhere because they're great games. And yeah, you know, more exposure to these games is always a good thing. I know the Sony fanboys are gonna be like, "Why you don't leave my system?" But, you know, let people play the thing. I guess next I could talk about, I mean, Diablo 4, I mean, I'm very excited for it, but I'm also scared for it because I just want it to be good. I've been hearing like a lot, you know, there's been crunching and all that. I'm like, please, Blizzard, please, just please. It looks great. Like the previews of it, I watched like I like a week before the Game Awards, and the game looks fantastic. I just, you know, I won't know until the game is out, until we know what the monetization is going to be like and stuff. So yeah, I'm still, you know, holding my breath on it, but it does look very good, and it's coming out June So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Same thing with Final Fantasy 16. Again, not much to say besides it looks awesome, and I can't wait for it. I'm glad my boy Yoshi P said stuff about it in the beginning. He talked English. I never heard him talk English before, so that was a little weird. But I love his work in 14. And it looks like a lot of that energy is going to 16. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. It just looks like DMC. So that's pretty cool. But yeah.
Next one, Crash Team Rumble. I think that this was a pretty big surprise. This is like a Crash party game. I thought it was gonna be like a remake of Crash Bash or whatever the hell that was called on
the Mario Party game.
Yeah, the PS1 game. Yeah, but it looks like that this one's a little different. It looks like it's like Smash Brothers or some shit. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's like a team brawler where you collect a Wumpa fruit and you put it in your basket and you beat the shit out of each other. I think that's what it is. This was actually like leaked like 2 years ago or something. Well, they kept throwing hints at it like they were doing it, but then people weren't sure if it was still happening, and now it's happening. So yeah, there was like a lot of things about this game, but it's finally out. Again, hopefully it like does well, because every time people do like these multiplayer games and stuff, they usually like die after like a week if it's not like a big popular game. So hopefully the game's actually fun. Hopefully the monetization, because it's going to be there, is okay. Because I think a multiplayer Crash game is not, he's not new to that. Like, he's done that before. It just depends on how well like everything else works, if the balance is there and all that. I would have rather have a traditional Crash game again, but Crash 4 came out 2 years ago, so it's not like I'm not like, or was it 2 years ago?
It was a bit ago. Let me look that up for you. Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 2 years ago. All right,
so you are correct.
So yeah, I mean, I would like to see like a Spyro game as well, like a new traditional Spyro game. But I'll take this as well if they're, if they aren't making like a traditional thing. But yeah, but just guys, I need to see some gameplay before I really have any big thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that for this game in particular, it was very, very cool for them to announce it, for there to be another sort of like Crash Bandicoot spin-off game. And for this one to be different in a sense that, it's sort of like a Mario Party mini game at all times, in a sense. I'm not exactly sure if I'm describing that correctly, but, it seems like it could be a lot of fun if you have, 4 of your friends go up against 4 other people online. I'm sure that this will have a online component, because why the hell not? If it was all local only, then it's going to fucking bomb. I'm going to be honest. So yeah, I feel like that they're working a lot more towards Crash, because Crash is a lot more marketable. I know that there's a lot of Spyro fans out there that are like, but I want a new Spyro game. But I feel like with Crash Bandicoot, there was a lot more buzz and a lot more hype around his return compared to Spyro. Spyro had his Reignited trilogy, but I don't think that one got as much love and attention online as the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy did. I'm sorry. I feel like that Crash, is a lot more popular, or maybe not a lot more popular, but is more popular currently than Spyro. Maybe that's just because of what they're leaning towards, and because Crash had a new game recently, maybe that's why. But I would still love to see a Spyro 4 in the traditional sense of how the PlayStation 1 games were, and sort of like how the Reignited trilogy, and have the, Spyro 4 to the equivalent of Crash 4. But, for this game in particular, it looks like it can be a lot of fun. If it's full price, it's going to be very worrisome. I'm not sure if a lot of people are going to buy it if it's like $60.
I honestly think it might be like free to play and kind of just buy characters. I don't really know. They haven't said anything, but
that could be cool.
I think might be better just to get people to actually play it, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. They're still very hush-hush about this one.
Yeah, they're still holding a lot of information back, so I guess we'll learn more next year. I guess like the only there was a lot of games here, but not to keep, we got a lot more to go. But Death Stranding 2, I really didn't expect this, because Kojima was saying like, hey, I'm making like this weird cloud-based game and then doing some other weird stuff. I'm like, okay, so I don't think Death Stranding 2 is gonna happen, and then it happened. He's not calling it Death Stranding 2, he's calling it DS2, so he's probably being like a little cheeky nerd, and like it's probably not gonna be called Death Stranding 2 because he's weird. But yeah, it's Death Stranding 2. There's like a Metal Gear at the end. It's weird. I haven't played the first game yet. I probably will now. It's kind of been on my bucket list for a while, so I'll probably give it a shot, see if I like it. Then hopefully part 2 is good. I know Death Stranding 2. I mean, Death Stranding in general is a very controversial game. Like, you either love it or you hate it. And I think that's fine. Honestly, I think games that provoke that feeling in people is always pretty neat because, you could see what a game does really well and what doesn't work with it and stuff. Like, I think a game being too safe is always like a little more bland to discuss than a game that's really like weird. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, honestly, in terms of announcements, I thought this Game Awards was fantastic. Like, I think this is one of the best Game Awards they've done, like, ever. There was a lot of good stuff. There's a lot more things here that I could just be like, that's really cool. Like, the Celeste people are making a new game. That's really cool. There's the people that made the original BioShock are doing the new thing. That's cool. So yeah, there's just a bunch of really good announcements here. So yeah, I was very surprised with how good the announcements were this Game Awards. So yeah, good job, Jeff Keighley. You did it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think that this Game Awards was pretty enjoyable to watch, all things considered. I mean, there's obviously going to be moments where you're like, I don't care about this game, but, I feel like overall with the vibe and sort of how the show was going, it was fun to watch. I think that the element of watching it on Steam, they were doing a Steam Deck giveaway every 1 minute, gave a lot of people incentive to watch it, and me included. Obviously, I had it open on Steam and on Twitch because I want Twitch chat. But yeah, I think that having stuff like that and just having, sort of little fun things to do around the show is pretty cool. Especially because most people are going to be watching it from home on their computer, sort of just watching it as, a award show, if you will. And, there's going to be moments where people aren't going to be as engaged with it and stuff like that. So, yeah, overall, I think that for what the show was, it was very, very good. Do you want to talk about the ending bit real quick? Or,
yeah, my what was it? My Orthodox rabbi, Bill Clinton.
Some Bill Clinton.
Yeah, so some kid just got up with Miyazaki after he won game of the year for Elden Ring. He just walked with them. He was like clapping along. He was just right behind them. And then after they were done doing their speech for Elden Ring, he just got up to the mic, said what I just said, and then that's it. Apparently he got arrested afterward, but apparently he's also 15, so like they couldn't do anything about it because he talked to like what's his face, Jason Strider afterward, and he was just trolling the whole time. So this kid is definitely just a troll. Jeff Keighley seemed pretty pissed about it, which is rightfully so. I mean, he kind of took away the spotlight from the Game of the Year, and he was just kind of an asshole. So yeah, definitely next year we're gonna see probably some more security and stuff. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't like a security guard in each row, so like someone can just rush in. And I also didn't know the Game Awards were like open to the public. Like you could just buy a ticket or something. Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought it was like only for industry people. So yeah, that's kind of weird.
This was the first year in a while that it was open to the public.
That was a mistake.
So yeah, obviously that was not a good idea. So next year there's probably gonna be a lot more security and a lot more, making sure of who's going up on stage. I'm sure that there will likely be a mistake of someone trying to go up on stage with their boys, and then it's like, hey, yo, like I know this guy, yo, chill. So yeah, I mean, like that's better, better to be safe than sorry, because obviously this incident happened and it sort of took over the Twitter sphere news wave for like the next few days, because that kid did was kind of like really crazy and really troll, all things considered. He obviously spoke with multiple people in multiple outlets, multiple internet personalities, not just with journalists like
talked to Destiny, I think.
Yeah. He's just making the waves, just sort of getting his 10 seconds of fame whatever the fuck. So he's a Redditor, if you will. That's just how like I view it. He's just like a fucking internet troll and just doing it for the memes, and he really doesn't make sense when he talks to these people. So yeah, it's just very interesting, very strange that happened. And obviously Jeff Keighley was like, he got arrested, and obviously people were like, holy shit. But obviously, he's a 15-year-old kid, so they can't really do much about it because he's a minor. And he really didn't do anything that was necessarily harmful. Obviously what he did was wrong, and I wouldn't say illegal, but he shouldn't have done that. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I guess we have the awards here. So obviously, like I said, Elden Ring, one Game of the Year, game direction, art direction, RPG. Makes sense. I was kind of expecting it to win Game of the Year. Even if God of War did win more awards, I was fully expecting Elden Ring to ultimately win Game of the Year. I'm kind of sad Xenoblade didn't win anything, but that's fine. I'm just happy Xenoblade was up there to begin with. I'm always happy with like lesser games, or not lesser games, but I guess games that are more niche up there. Like last year, like, you know, Ratchet and Psychonauts 2 being up there was like really cool. Like I really enjoyed that. And obviously God of War took a lot, you know, best narrative, score, and music. That one's a little controversial. You know, I don't know. The God of War has pretty good music, but I think other games were probably better for that. But whatever. You know, audio, performance. You know, Christopher Judge. You know, he did like a 10-minute speech.
He gave away 10 Steam Decks.
Let's go. 10 Steam Decks. You know, good job. Accessibility, action, adventure. You know, I really can't argue with any of these. I think besides the music thing, I think all these were really deserved for God of War. You know, I'll talk about more when, you know, I'm up to it. But yeah, I think it really did deserve all those awards. I think you know, the game was great. The performance was great. Accessibility, you know, everything it has listed there, it did a great job with. Action game being Bayonetta 3. Yeah, makes sense, you know. I think I said that too. I'm like, yeah, I mean, Bayonetta 3 is an action-ass game, so like if we didn't win that, that's a little weird. Then we have other ones like Content Creator, Ludwig. You know, Ludwig did a lot this year. You know, he's been doing a lot for a lot of different communities. You know, I watched
Did you watch the
chess boxing? Yeah. I watched like most of it. I didn't finish it. You know, it was a very entertaining show. You know, he's obviously doing that Scuff Smash tournament as well. You know, Ludwig has been really popping off this year. I mean, he has been for a while, but you know, I think this is definitely deserved. He does a lot of good stuff. So I'm happy Ludwig ultimately won that as well. And here's like the really controversial one, the Genshin Impact one. Okay. So during the weeks leading up to this, it was Sonic Frontiers versus Genshin Impact. You know, Sonic Frontiers, everyone was voting for it. You know, it was getting super high counts and stuff. Like everyone was voting for it. Everyone wanted Sonic Frontiers to win this. And then the Genshin Impact fans caught whiff of this and like, hey, we'll probably get some primo gems if we win. So we're just going to vote a lot. So then they ended up taking over Sonic Frontiers because Genshin has a really, really big fan base. And, you know, I think Jeff Keighley even said even after taking the bot votes, you know, Genshin Impact still won. So, yeah, that was a big controversial thing. Again, I kind of wish Sonic Frontiers won. You know, it's kind of weird that Genshin Impact is even there, but whatever. You know, it would have been cool if the boy got a win ever, but, you know, it's whatever. You know, Sonic Frontiers, you know, still sold a lot apparently, so good job for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess Genshin Impact at the end kind of just won it. So.
I just can't believe Jeff Keighley called Sonic fans bots. Like, that's crazy. It is what it is. You know, Genshin fans are obviously fucking psycho because they play Genshin. No offense to them. It's all jokes. Don't kill me. But yeah, you know, player's choice or player's voice, if you will. That is going to be another category for next year. That's going to be very, very funny and very entertaining to watch because there was a lot of good fan art and sort of conversations that were going on Twitter that I was just entertained by it. I was like, I'm not voting, but you know what? This shit is just funny to watch.
It was very funny to watch. Adaptation, Arcane won. I think that's fair. I think, like I said before, I think Arcane did a great job sort of introducing like even like a normie, someone that doesn't know anything about League, to the lore and stuff. And, you know, it was, you know, I think focusing on Jinx and stuff was a good introduction to that world since it's like, you know, more relatable and stuff. So, you know, even though I love Cyberpunk, I think Cyberpunk, you kind of have to understand the source material a little more to really enjoy. So yeah, I think Arcane winning that is definitely fair. And anticipated game is Zelda, so I think it won again. Like I'm pretty sure it won last year.
It won again. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
that's funny.
I mean, you know, when it's Legend of Zelda versus all these other games, it's like, all right, well, am I gonna vote Breath of the Wild 2 or Harry Potter?
Right.
So yeah,
makes sense.
It is what it is. I think that for the awards themselves, you know, God of War sort of sweeping like the first part of the show, and then once Elden Ring got that first win, I was like, all right, you know what, they might win Game of the Year now, because at first I was like, you know what, God of War might win, guys. I don't know, and then it was like, all right, well, you know, they started getting RPG, game direction, and stuff like that, and I was like, all right, well,
you got the big ones, yeah.
So, you know, they didn't win the most awards, but they won the one that probably mattered the most to them, which was Game of the Year. So, which makes sense because, you know, people are still fucking playing that game today on Twitch, you know, doing like the DDR pad or like playing with their toes or some shit. I don't know what the hell they're doing. You know, that game is like insane for a reason, and that's why it won Game of the Year. Not to say God of War doesn't deserve it, but God of War, you know, it's an overall well-rounded game, but as a game that'll last like for years and decades, for that people will still keep playing because of the gameplay, it's Elden Ring, 100%.
Yeah. I kind of fully expected that to happen. So
yeah, I mean, overall game of Game Awards this year was pretty fun, pretty cool. Despite that 15-year-old kid crashing the party.
And it made it even more memorable. So there you go.
Yeah, cannot wait to see what they have in store for next year.
All right. So now we're up to recent activities.
I will let you go first, good sir.
Okay. So I beat a God of War. So I did that like pretty early into this, I guess, like 2-week cycle that we do stuff in. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I do agree now. I see some of the negatives people are pointing out, mostly with the pacing. Like, I think the pacing is not as good as the first game. There's a lot of main story missions that kind of feel like giant side quests. So like, why am I really doing this? Obviously, I enjoy playing more of the game because I enjoy the gameplay and stuff. But I definitely felt like story-wise, it definitely felt like it was spread, like, not thin, but I don't know. Yeah, just the pacing was off. And I also felt like the big climactic moment at the end, I felt like it could have been a lot longer than it was. It was only like a 30-minute mission. I'm like, well, that was a little short. But I feel like at the end of the day, and honestly it has the same issues Xenoblade 3 has, which is kind of interesting, where I think both of those games have pacing issues. And, that could, and the villains aren't, I don't think, as good as the games previously. But I feel like that also wasn't like the point of the game or the heart of the story in general. The heart of this story is mostly about Kratos and Atreus. Mostly Atreus is like, I guess, coming of age story in this game, and sort of Kratos growing as a character. I think that stuff is still done very, very well, and I think that's what really matters in the end. Same with Xenoblade 3, like I feel like the villains and all that stuff doesn't really matter that much, so I don't mind them not being that great because the characters and all their stuff is what actually matters in the end of the day. So you don't really feel it as much. You just kind of be like, oh, that was a little lame, but like whatever, I could look past it because everything else the game was actually trying to do was really good, and that's kind of how I feel about this. And either way, it's still good. It just felt like they probably could have fleshed, or I guess, I don't know. The pacing could have just been better. That's what I'm trying to say. But besides that, God of War was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Besides those issues. And yeah, I still don't, I still think Xenoblade is my game of the year just because I'm biased and I love Xenoblade. But it's definitely a close second. I really enjoyed it. But I don't know what they're going to do next with this series. I don't know if Santa Monica is going to do something else. But it definitely leaves the door open for more things to do. So I am looking forward to the future of this series as well. So Pokemon Scarlet, I'm almost done with this as well. I'm like up to like the last sort of bits of it. And I really do like the game. Like, I actually really like this game. It's really good. It's just like, it just performs like shit. And I really wish it wasn't the case because, I will say this is the most fun I've been having with Pokemon ever. Like, both Legends Arceus and this game have been super enjoyable. I've really been enjoying these games a lot. It just, they just kind of look like shit. But at least with Arceus, the game looked like shit but ran fine. This game, again, it looks like shit but doesn't run fine. What they really should have done was delay Arceus till now and have this Arceus be like sort of the main Pokemon game in November, and then just delay this game till next year. I think that would have been fine because they were both big games anyway. They didn't have to release both games in the same year. I feel like that's kind of dumb, but I guess Pokemon Company wanted that money, so I guess we're going forward with that. It really hurts because I think this game could definitely be like a top like 3 Pokemon game if it just ironed out all those bugs and stuff. I actually really enjoyed the story and characters this time. I think Sword and Shield was a big step down from Sun and Moon because I thought Sun and Moon had one of the best stories of any Pokemon game, and then Sword and Shield didn't. So it's really cool that this game kind of had more focus on like characters and stuff again. I really enjoyed that aspect. The open world is not too crazy. Like, you mostly just walk around catching Pokemon, but that's honestly enough. Like, the Pokemon themselves are the main stars of the open world, and just exploring a new area and capturing a ton of Pokemon, like that never gets old. Like just capturing them and shit. And when you see like a shiny, I got 2 shinies that like just like running around. Like, it's very cool to do that when you could just see them there. So yeah, that novelty still hasn't worn off for me. But I still think in the next game, they really should sort of expand the open world to have more activities to do. Because for the most part, you're mostly just riding around capturing Pokemon and doing gyms and some of the other objectives you could do. But I think having more side content would probably be for the best. I think Arceus actually did that better, where you actually had like side quests and stuff to do. So hopefully the next Pokemon game could have something like that. But it's just such a weird game to sort of rate because I really like it. And just the negatives make me bring it down a bit. But hopefully the next Pokemon game is like this, but it just iron out all the bugs, make the game actually run well. But yeah, I'm still having a great time with it. It's just, it's kind of a hard game to talk about just because of all the issues it has. But yeah, Overwatch 2. So Overwatch 2, new patch came out. You got a new hero. He's pretty fun. What's what's not really fun is honestly a lot of the balancing they did was a little weird. Doomfist was very irritating to fight in the first week. He was everywhere. He didn't fucking die. He did so much damage. They nerfed him like now, but he still is pretty strong. You know, a lot of the characters, like Soldier actually got nerfed. Like her little disruptor shot doesn't slow you in her thing anymore, which is great because that thing did way too much damage as well. So that's cool that it doesn't do both at once now. But yeah, I still feel like Overwatch always has this issue with balancing that never went away. I feel like the game is always going to be in the state of like never fun because just like I have fun with the game because I do enjoy the mechanics and stuff, but I feel like the balancing is always such a big issue with this game for some reason, and I don't really know why. It just seems like even when the game first came out, they could never get anything right. Like it always feels like something is always missing or off, and maybe that's just a problem with the game design inherently. Like maybe some heroes are just like they just can't work in a state where it's like healthy for anything. Like Doomfist, I feel like I don't know why they even made him a tank. Like he probably should have just stayed a DPS if he's going to do that much damage. Now he does like a shit ton of damage and he doesn't die. So like I feel like what's the point of that? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Overwatch just has that issue where balancing has always been a major stickling point of the game that's never going to go away. And I'm definitely not having as much fun this season as I was last season just because of that. But it's still whatever. I'm still doing my battle pass or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a Blizzard issue. Like Blizzards always have issues like balancing shit. I don't know. Do you want to talk about Overwatch 2 while I'm talking about it?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so shout out to my girlfriend Emma. She loves playing Overwatch. So I try to play with her, and honestly, like when Overwatch 2 first came out, like I was having a lot of fun because it's been a while since we've played Overwatch, like in general. So I was like, oh, okay, let's go and see what Overwatch 2 has. Like it's pretty much like a big new update. All right, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm still playing Soldier. I'm trying out these new agents, Sojourn, Moira, etc. Like I'm having fun. And I could play all three roles competently in my eyes. I think that I know what I need to do within every single role. And then we play and I'm like, these teammates are so fucking stupid. I just hate playing with people that are just like not doing their role properly, and it's like when they're not doing their role properly, the whole team falls apart because if the tank's just running in and dying, we don't have a tank, and then if a DPS is like slacking, then we don't have enough damage to kill their backline or even their tank. Then if a healer's lacking, then people are just gonna die faster. It just feels like it's a domino effect when someone's not doing the role properly. I feel like because I'm a fucking League player, obviously. If you guys don't know this, I used to play League of Legends like for 10 hours a day straight because I was trying to go pro. This was like between 2019 to 2020, something like that. So I was doing this for like a while, for like almost 2 years. And I was like, okay, like I understand when someone like has a bad game. Because like now when I play League, it's like, okay, like I know what I'm not doing correctly. But if someone's not doing their thing correctly, I'm not like too fussed up about it. Like I'm not like typing in chat and like telling them to like kill themselves or shit like that. In Overwatch, I feel like I kind of want to do that, like unironically, but also ironically as well. Like I actually don't type to people, but I'm just like, this fucking player is like so bad. I can't believe this shit. But also, like you said, it also comes down to the balance because like some people will like play these heroes that are just dog shit, like Genji or whatever. And like if they're not like a god Genji, it's like, okay, like what's the point of you even playing this hero if you're not like super good at it, kind of thing, And like with certain tanks, like I'll play Winston and Reinhardt and that's it. And I feel like that's okay. Maybe I should learn the newer tanks and shit like that. But I don't know. I just feel like I just get into this like state of rage that is just like unhealthy when I play Overwatch, and it's just so bad because I'm just like, oh my fucking god, I can't do this shit anymore, man. Like, oh my god, I can't.
No, I agree. I mean, the game is very team reliant, like more so than other games, just because the roles are so strict. Like in League, like support is kind of just that support. Like you kind of just help people out. Like in Overwatch, like if you don't have your support, you kind of just die because you don't have any more healing. But they have a healer, and you kind of just all die. So obviously with a tank as well. If you lose your tank, like you're kind of fucked as well. And it's a lot harder to, I guess, solo carry than it is in things like League or whatever, just because the game is a lot more reliant on the role based stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because you can make heroes that are very unique because of that, because you can make like big buffy boys or DPS guys and stuff, but it also comes with the downside of being like, yeah, it's very team dependent. And when it comes to online games, some people are going to be really bad, they never change heroes, or they're, yeah, like you said, they're playing a Genji but there's a Pharah up there just shooting you, and they're not changing to like a soldier or McCree or whatever, so you kind of just die. So yeah, I think the way I don't get as mad is I kind of just focus on my own performance and just like live with it.
100%.
Yeah, it's hard to when you keep losing, but it is like kind of just how I do it. And yeah, that's why I kind of don't play competitive that much unless it's with everyone else, just because you're dealing with just by yourself now. Like solo queuing in Overwatch is pretty miserable just because of that. When you're playing with everyone else, it's a good time, but yeah, it's kind of. It's a difficult game to like, yeah. I guess like have fun with. So
yeah, no, I'm like, I will try to just like get past it. Like I 100% try, because I'm not like yelling like all the time. Maybe I do. maybe I'm just like huffing that copia. But like actually though, I'm like, I try to like get past the game and be like, all right, new game. Let's see what happens here. And like, I'll be honest, sometimes I throw, sometimes I'll dive in too deep as Moira and fucking kill myself, and then the whole team claps, and I'm like, all right guys, my bad. And then we lose the game, and I'm like, okay, you know what, that was my fault, my apologies. But you know what, when some games I'm just like, all right, well, I'm playing let's say like a soldier, and then like I'm trying to like kill someone, and then like someone like gets caught by something, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, whatever. Like, I don't know. It just feels so bad to play sometimes. Like, I feel like with other games, like with Valorant and League and even fucking Fortnite, which I'll talk about later. Like, I feel like those games, even though Fortnite has a lot more just like random shit going on, I feel like with that game I have a lot more fun, because it's like, when you drop in, like sometimes you might get two-pieced by a fucking shotgun. Ah, shit. You know what? That happens. Go next. Because you can very quickly get back into another game. And you can say the same thing about Overwatch, because Overwatch is like very, very quick. But, with the other games that I just mentioned, I feel like that there's like comeback mechanics in a sense. Because like I feel like with Overwatch, it's like you get rolled and it's fucking over. Like there's no way to really like come back. Because like within League, there's like laning phase, and then the mid game, and then late game, and then within Valorant there's rounds, so there's ways for you to like cheese and like save one round, lose it, and then come back into the next one. With Fortnite, there's like, okay, the loot system, if you kill someone they might have good loot, and then you could loot off them, etc, etc. With Overwatch, it's like, all right, shit, if someone's like playing like dog shit and like they don't like switch off or whatever, it's like you're kind of like just stuck with that.
Yeah, it's definitely like, yeah, if you lose, you basically just lose. Like sometimes people are just better than the other teammates, and you kind of just die. Like, that happens a lot. So, and again, people refusing to change is like always a big thing. Like oh, you have this useless Widowmaker that's not killing anyone, and then they're just gonna keep being Widowmaker the whole game until you lose. So yeah, it's definitely like a really different game compared to everything else. I mean, I love it just because the gameplay is so similar to TF2, like in terms of like just raw gameplay. But if Valve made a TF3, I probably would not play Overwatch. So yeah, it's just like because the mechanics are very similar and stuff. Minus like ults or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely a difficult game to really have fun with. And I think that's what happened when the game first came out as well. Like in 2016, like people, you either like love it or you don't like it just because like of all this other bullshit around it. It's not pure mechanical skill. It's always gonna be like ults or teamwork to a big degree.
Yeah, so, to a big degree and to its fault, which makes it really frustrating to play. So, yeah. That's enough of me ranting, but is there anything else you need to talk about?
Yeah, I got one more thing. I got Crisis Core. I got this is a PSP remake of Final Fantasy VII, but they remade it, or I guess remastered it for modern consoles. And yeah, it's really good. I've been meaning to actually play this. I was actually really close to playing it on an emulator before they announced it, like a proper remaster. And yeah, this is a really good remaster. Like this is really tiptoeing the line between remake and remaster, because all the models are replaced with basically 7 remake models. Obviously the game still feels like a PSP game. Like, things are really linear and stuff, and the animations are very PSP looking, but like everything looks really good. Like all the environments and textures and everything. It all looks really good. So yeah, I think Square did a great job in terms of updating all the graphics and stuff. And apparently they made the combat a lot better from the PSP version. And I mean, I could feel that. I think the combat's fantastic in this game. You know, it's not turn-based or anything. It's a full-on action RPG. You know, it kind of plays like Kingdom Hearts, where you could use your commands anytime you want and all that. You could combo into stuff, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. You know, like I said, it's pretty linear because it is a PSP game. The game is more mission-based than anything, so there's like a bunch of missions you could do. You have your main missions and all that. I'm not too far into it because I want to beat Pokemon before I really get into it, but first impressions are really good. I'm really enjoying it so far. So yeah.
All right, so going back to me, I'm going to talk about Quintessential Quintuplets, the movie. I sort of alluded to that I was going to see it that day when we recorded. And yeah, I went to go see it. I fucked up. I went to the wrong theater at first, and then they scanned me, and they were like, you're at the wrong place. And I was like, ah, shit. The other theater? Across town. Shit.
Nice.
So it's going to take me like 30 minutes to get there. So we were a little late. I don't know what's up with me and anime movies, but I'm always fucking late. So I think we missed like the first 5 to 10 minutes, which was nothing of substance, I believe. But yeah, I watched the movie. And yeah, it was pretty much the last bit of the Quintessential Quintuplet stuff. Obviously, I can't spoil anything because Damian obviously wants to hopefully watch that one day.
I need to see it, that's why.
But yeah, you know, it definitely wrapped everything up. I was actually a lot more accepting of the ending for me personally because I felt like it was paced a lot better here compared to when you read a manga, you can just like breeze through it. But when you watch it, it's like, okay, you kind of have to soak it in, sort of take it in as it's going. And I think there were some anime only watchers in there because there were people in the front row. And then when it was shown who was the chosen girl, everyone was like, what? And I was like, okay, yeah, all right, guys, all right. But yeah, you know, it was definitely very fun and entertaining to watch it in theaters because when silly stuff was happening, when jokes were happening, obviously, you know, people were laughing and having a good time with it. The animation is fucking dog shit. I will say that. Oh my God, it looks so bad. Like I felt like I was watching like Dragon Ball Super, like when it was like very, very, yeah, it looked bad. I was like, what's going on here? Because like it doesn't look like season 2 or season 1, which like those two seasons animated very, very good. Yeah. This movie, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the fuck they did, but it just looks terrible. And I'm like, okay. Oh my God, like it does not look good. But yeah, you know, pretty much like I said, they adapted everything and they pasted it better. And honestly, I think that this was, other than it looking bad, it was like a pretty faithful like adaptation. And I really did like that. So when it does become available on streaming or whatever the case is, you know, go watch it. It is unfortunate that this was turned into a movie. So if you didn't see it in theaters, you know, you gotta wait or torrent it or watch it on some shady website or whatever.
Watch anime.com. Watch cartoons online. I forgot what I used.
Exactly. So, you know, Quintessential Quintuplets, the movie. If you have watched the first 2 seasons and you want to see what happens at the end, watch this movie. It will look a little scuffed though, but it is what it is. Moving on from there, I played the new season of Fortnite Chapter 4. So they did a event, and the event was dog shit. You were kind of just running around collecting balls and like throwing the balls into the middle. But that pretty much created the map, which is a whole new map. They don't reuse anything. There's no old locations or anything like that. It's a brand new map, which is pretty exciting. There's new guns. There's new sort of abilities. You can like vault over stuff, you know, pretty much everything that you could do within the previous Fortnite seasons is obviously there, but there's some new stuff in there. The perks, I think that is like the biggest thing. So pretty much like I think like the first few minutes into the game you get your first perk, and then as the game keeps going on you get 3 more, and the perks are pretty much like your first shot with your AR, it'll mark the enemy for like a little bit. So like if they like repeat, you can pretty much get like a easy headshot. And then there's like other perks where like you could just get like a chug cannon and you could pretty much heal you and your team infinitely as long as you have those charges. And other stuff like that, you can like heal in bushes, etc., etc. So I think the perks are like a nice thing to add into the game. They're not like super overtuned. I know that probably in competitive they're gonna not include some of them because they are kind of crazy that you just get a chug cannon for free. There's also like there's like this hammer that'll help you either like kill enemies or just like go throughout the map, because like you will go like pretty far. I really did like the like Spider-Man like whip stuff. That was like a pretty fun season for me personally because you could just like go around the map as far as you want. And yeah, that was pretty cool. So pretty much that's like what the hammer is, but more balanced, I would say. Even then, I fucking hate the hammers because they're so annoying. Because like when you fight someone and then they just use the hammer and they just run away, and I'm like, all right, fuck you, whatever. But last thing I want to talk about with Fortnite is the graphics. I believe they're using Unreal Engine 5 or something like that.
It looks fucking great.
It looks insane, honestly.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was playing on my PS5 one day, and she was playing Fortnite, and I was like, "This is what the new Fortnite looks." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, this looks crazy." And then I played it on my computer, and obviously I play everything on low. It still looks pretty cool. Like, it looks really, really nice. And when you think about Fortnite from like when it first came out to now, like it looks like a completely different game almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like overall, because I'm playing a lot more Fortnite, I don't have a lot of missions to do, but I haven't played in like the last week. I believe we're going to play again today, but I always, like I said, enjoy playing Fortnite, so I cannot wait to jump back into it, and probably another game I'm going to constantly keep playing now that my PC is not going to overheat and explode when I launch it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play more. Like the last time I played Fortnite for real was like season 3, so I should probably try it again. Like that glow up, I'm like, shit, I kind of want to see that. So I mean, I might download it again.
And also, there's no build mode, which is what me and Emma play, so we don't have to worry about building. We did try building once, and then Emma got built on, and she was like, "Nope, not again."
Never again.
Like, hey, fine,
Never again.
Fine. That's fine with me. I mean, like, it is annoying when you get like a sweat, and he's like fucking building, and then he like puts like a roof on top of you, and I'm like, "All right, dude, you got it, man. You got it. All right, whatever." But yeah, overall, Fortnite is a lot of fun. Last game I've been playing here is Sonic Frontiers. I fucking finished it finally, and these are gonna be my unscripted thoughts on it. Spoilers, by the way. For Sonic Frontiers, so if you don't want to hear about my spoilers on it, just skip to our discussion on the DC stuff. But yeah, Sonic Frontiers. It's pretty much as good as I expected it. I really did enjoy the sort of like gameplay loop of just like going around the world, collecting like all of the collectibles, and then unlocking the Chaos Emerald, getting to the next part of the story, then going on to the boss fight, and then next island. I think that was a lot of fun. I think I agree with you, Damian, when it comes to once you get to like the 4th or 5th sort of like level or whatever, you sort of do get tired of it. It does get like a little repetitive, especially during that last island. I was like, you need how many fucking hearts to like get to the...
I just fished, bro.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit. So then instead of fishing, because I did do like a little bit of fishing to like get the keys. Yeah. I actually went around and like try to like find everything, and like I was like pinging on the map and shit like that. I was like, this is fucking crazy. Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy my time with it. I can't ignore the fucking enormous amount of bugs and just like glitches that happen within the game. The cyberspace levels, they don't feel that great when it comes to like Sonic physics.
It feels weird.
They don't feel that good. Like once I got to like the like last couple of ones, I was like, this feels a little off, because I would like go up a loop and then I would like stop, and I'm like, okay, like this is kind of weird. But still, like I had fun like getting all of those like missions done for the extra keys. I think that was still like a very good thing that they did, fastest time for the S rank, getting all of the red rings, etc. So I think that was like a lot of fun of it. The story itself was kind of weird and interesting. I mean, like when I really think about it, every single Sonic story is kind of weird. Yeah. Sonic Adventure 2, you got the big ass lizard. I think Sonic Heroes, I'm a little biased, but having Metal Sonic be the main villain was kind of cool. But with this game, it was much more about like them sort of like connecting every single Sonic game in a sense, with sort of bringing back like the, I guess, like Chaos Water people into it, and sort of like that's what the Cocos are. And sort of have, I guess, like Eggman's daughter or whatever, the
Sage.
Fucking Sage. Yeah, I was like, okay, what the fuck is Sage's deal? And I was like, oh, that's your daughter. Interesting. Okay, so
but it's like an AI he made, but then like they got connected. So
so I think that that's a pretty cool twist on it. I feel like most Sonic games, story wise, they haven't really done anything super crazy in a while. Even with Sonic Generation, it was just like, oh look, this is classic Sonic. I was like, all right, that's cool, but like nothing really like to advance the story or like the lore of Sonic, if you will, kind of thing. So I appreciate that, but overall I think that the story was okay. But yeah, I had a great time with Sonic Frontiers. I think that this is a game worthy of checking out if you haven't already. Obviously you're listening to my spoiler thoughts on it, so hopefully you have. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any major gripes with it. One of my favorite songs from the soundtrack, if I could just look it up real quick, because I have it on my Spotify and it's on my on repeat playlist because I played it that much. It's
Which one
Find
is
Your
it?
Flame. It's
Which
the
one?
third boss fight music.
Oh, okay, yeah, that one's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, because like okay, the boss fights, I kept fucking dying on them because I was like, I'm fucking stupid because I was like running out of rings and like I wasn't knowing what I was doing because I can't see the ring count when I'm recording because
Right.
the Elgato has the recording button right over where the ring count is. So when I'm supersonic and then I'm like, wait, what happened? And then he just like dies and I'm like, all right,
Right.
shit. But yeah, that boss fight music, banger. I love it. And then for the final boss, I fucking had to collect rings because I got like hard locked on it. I was like,
Right.
what the fuck is going on here? Because I would get to like his like last sliver of health and I would
Yeah.
do damage to it. And I'm like, I'm not doing damage. I'm not fucking doing damage. What the hell's going on? So then I like restarted my game and then I got my max rings and then I redid it again and then I beat him. And I was like, so I ran out of rings because the game didn't do the last cutscene where he pulls out the gun and he fucking shoots you.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like so stupid. So yeah,
Yeah,
like
that sounds a little scuffed, yeah.
things like that just make the game like obviously like not perfect. Like if I were to like give this game a rating, it'd definitely be like a solid 7.
Yeah.
On a good day, it's still a 7. On a bad day, it's like a 6.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. I think that if they continue doing this and maybe create more interesting worlds, because you know the first island and like the last island are very similar, so you know it kind of sort of blends in together.
Yeah.
If they make more interesting islands, more interesting aesthetics, expand on the story that they're sort of starting with Eggman and Sage, I think that this can be the start of another sort of like Sonic trilogy, maybe, possibly, who knows. But yeah, I really enjoyed Sonic Frontiers. Hopefully I'll have my full-length review out by next week, if all things go well. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything you said. Like, I said everything I had to say, I think, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I forget how long. But, yeah, I basically agree with everything you said. Like, it's very good, but still probably like a 7. But I am looking forward to the next Sonic game where they could really iron out everything. And hopefully we get a really, really good game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, like, if you know anyone that's, like, hesitant on getting this game, they should still get it because it's like $40 now. Like, it's
Yeah, it
dropped
goes
in
on sale
price.
very often now. Yeah, so.
It's pretty cheap now. So I would definitely still buy this game just to show support that, hey, like we as Sonic fans sort of like believe in this vision. And I think that Sonic fans that have been around since Unleashed Generations or even before then can have a lot of fun with this one. Because this really is like the first open world Sonic game, even if they call it open zone. It is a open world Sonic game that there may not be like a whole lot to do in terms of like side missions and stuff, but this is definitely a good step in the right direction where you'll go around the island and just do stuff and fight some mini bosses, fight some enemies. It's a lot of fun. Like, honestly, I was like blowing through like hours and hours of it without even noticing. So
Right. Yeah, no, it's a really fun game, and hopefully they can improve everything. I mean, Sega and Sonic team are basically like, yeah, thank you, we're gonna do better for the next game, and it's gonna be better. So it seems like they have a lot of faith in this new direction for Sonic, which is nice because I feel like they haven't been confident in Sonic's direction for a while. So I'm happy to see that they're finally gonna commit to something and like let it be good. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the next game after Frontiers. Because it seems like it could be like unironically be like, yeah, this is very good. But yeah, Sonic Frontiers is still a good game though. So yeah.
All right, so we will move on from there. So we got the DC stuff that's been going on. There's a whole lot of stuff that's been going on because James Gunn has been announcing officially sort of like what his plans are and sort of tweeting stuff out. And I think everything's going to be set in stone by next week, if not by the end of this year. So first up, we just have to talk about Black Adam. Will reportedly lose $50 to $100 million in its theatrical run. So yeah, and I think that The Rock sort of tried to like have his own report to be like, hey, like it actually did break even, comparatively to like the first Captain America movie, etc., etc. But I think there was another report that was like, this is false, like this is not true. So I'm gonna just go off of this first initial story and we'll go from there. But yeah, it seems like that this movie is going to lose a whole ton of money from its theatrical run, despite it being in theaters for a while now, and now it's on HBO Max. So, am I really that surprised by it? A little bit, because I feel like maybe people overvalue Dwayne The Rock Johnson as like a superstar, because he really is like a super movie star when you really think about it. Like he will bring people into seats in theaters because he is The Rock. So the fact that this movie flops so much, I think it's just because they spent too much money on it. They spent a lot of money sort of promoting it and sort of advertising it and hoping that they could get that money back. But at the end of the day, they did not. And I think it's because it's a movie that's a little confusing in the grand scheme of things. Because, like, if this was like a Superman movie, it's like, all right, yeah, clear as day. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is fucking Superman. You know, like he is the good guy. But because this is Black Adam is a much more like
anti-hero.
Yeah, like anti-hero character. So it's a lot harder to sell people on that. And when you're trying to sell people on a brand new superhero on top of that people have probably not heard like ever, like Black Adam, and especially since because this character is very much tied to Shazam, you know, it's very weird. So I'm not that surprised that it lost that much, but I think it's also just because they spent a lot more than they were probably anticipating.
Yeah, I think because like, you know, it just comes down to, I don't think anyone's really heard of Black Adam till like now. Like, I mean, I know Shazam I think did pretty good, but still, like, them kind of hedging all their bets, like, oh, this is gonna be the movie that's gonna make us a ton of money, and then it didn't. It's kind of sad. But you know, like you said, maybe The Rock just wasn't enough to carry it. I mean, every other movie he's kind of been in has been kind of more well established than this, because, you know, like, you know, he was in Jumanji, right? Wasn't he in the new Jumanji? Yeah.
Yes, he was in Jumanji.
He was in Jumanji, freaking Fast and Furious and stuff. So, you know, I think those are very well established like stuff. Like Black Adam is just like, okay, yeah, it's just another DC thing. So yeah, maybe it just wasn't enough this time. But either way, also the movie was kind of just mid, wasn't it? So like it wasn't like blowing people out of the water. It was like okay, yeah. So yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so
yeah. I think, going back to my opinion on Black Adam, I think that it was a fine movie. I had fun with it. I really did enjoy it. I think that you know, when it comes to DC movie standards, it was good. You know, like I really did enjoy what it was offering and sort of what story that they told. There's obviously issues with it, with like the pacing and sort of like the human characters and stuff like that. You know, if you've seen a lot of movies like this before, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like, you know, there's this guy who's, you know, sort of like a fish out of water, and then it's like you got the human characters trying to, you know, show them like the ways of like how to do stuff, and then you have this other group, you know, doing their own thing, which was like, I guess, like the bat, or which was sort of like the good guys of the movie, if you will. So there was like a lot going on here that maybe may not have connected so well with audiences, that they couldn't, you know, sell it on to, you know, their friend, their family, their neighbor sort of thing, you know. So yeah, you know, I think that Black Adam was a fine DC movie, but it looks like that we're not going to get any more.
No, because yeah, what we have here is James Gunn and Peter Safran's plans for the DC universe. Sorry for butchering your name, but yeah, basically we have a lot of things here. You know, James Gunn has a really different vision for what the DCU is going to be like. For instance, Wonder Woman 3 won't move forward. You know, he's, you know, like I think he's just trying to wipe the slate clean from like anything that might have not been doing so well, because, you know, I think Wonder Woman 2 was pretty bad. I think you weren't as harsh on it, right? I forgot.
I think when I rewatched it, I think I rewatched it. I think when I really look back on it and sort of see what the characters were doing and sort of what the overall story was, I was like, okay, like I get it, you know, kind of thing, with like love and everything like that. I was like, all right, you know what, that's fine. But like at the end of the day, it was not that great of a movie comparatively to the first Wonder Woman, which was like a pretty solid like superhero movie, except for the final act. But you know, like overall Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever, you know, it was just not that great.
But yeah, apparently they didn't like cancel it. Apparently Patty Jenkins walked off the project, but I don't really know about that. You know, I think I don't even know how well it did financially, but either way, you know, it didn't do great in reviews wise. It just wasn't great in general, which is sad, because I really did like Wonder Woman 1 a lot. I thought it was actually a pretty good movie till like the last act was a little weird, but you know, I still thought it was pretty good. Other things here, you know, Black Adam 2, you know, definitely unlikely to happen after, the performance at the box office, as we just talked about. Man of Steel 2 up in the air, but as we talk about later, probably not.
I mean, at this point, everyone knows Henry Cavill will not be returning.
Yes, Henry Cavill is not going to be returning. That's sort of the big controversy. Same thing with Jason Momoa might not be Aquaman anymore after Aquaman 2. So yeah, like I said, it seems like James Gunn kind of just wants to wipe most of the slate clean for like new actors and sort of like, I guess, get the general public's perception of like, okay, this is like a new thing now. Like we're not doing any of the old stuff. We're doing this is new stuff now. And I honestly think that's the best play James Gunn could have done now, because the DCU has been such a mess for so long that I feel like having a nice clean start is kind of the best thing he could do.
Yeah, I think that them not rehiring Henry Cavill may seem a little controversial and may make him like the enemy of the internet right now, but it does make sense at the end of the day when they're trying to rebuild everything from scratch and sort of make sure no one's really confused as to what's going on within this new DCU that he and Peter Safran is building. So I think that when it comes to what's it called, Wonder Woman 3 in particular, there's a whole thing going back and forth between, whether Patty Jenkins is telling the whole story or whatever, because it seems like that, what she submitted to them was like dog shit or something like that. And then, she was like, nah, it's like perfect. And then she like submitted like a Wikipedia article on like character development or some shit. I don't even know what the hell was said in that sort of particular story, but I was just like, all right, like that seems a little weird. But her official response was that there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time, end quote. So yeah, it just seems like that she has her ways, DC has theirs. So it seems like that if they can't meet the middle, it's not gonna happen, which is unfortunate, because I think Gal Gadot was a great Wonder Woman, and I think that is a lot of people's modern sort of take on Wonder Woman. So them trying to I guess like Thanos snap everything out of existence is makes sense. It just seems weird that they're still moving forward with the Flash movie, which I think is a lot of people's.
Yeah, just cancel it already, Jesus.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of people are like, not really talking about it as much comparatively to everything else that's going on around James Gunn. Because I feel like if they're gonna wipe the slate clean, why do they need this Flashpoint movie to do it? Like they could just do it without having that movie come out or make any money or anything like that. Like Warner Brothers is already a sinking fucking ship. I'm not sure how much of this movie would have sank. I mean, they could tax write off it like they've been doing everything else, by the way. Mm-hmm. It just seems a little weird that they're right now still moving forward with that movie when they could really not have it in their plans.
Right. I agree. Like I was talking to my brother about this. I'm like, yo, just cancel The Flash. Like, why is this movie still going forward? Like, and I feel like of all the things of Ezra Miller, whatever.
Ezra Miller, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm just like, just cancel it. This person is kind of a psycho, so just like cancel the movie at this point. But yeah. But beyond that, we have a lot of other stuff here. Michael Keaton's Batman film would have been Batman Beyond, so
which is pretty exciting for a lot of people, including myself. Which I don't know much about Batman Beyond, other than that I think it's Bruce Wayne training another Batman or something like that. I forget exactly what Batman Beyond is, but
the replies are really funny. Again, that's that kind of stuff. Again, I didn't, I don't know much about Batman Beyond either. Besides, I watched a little bit when I was younger, and I thought he looked cool. But I know a lot of people really like that version of Batman, so that kind of sucks. That's not going to be happening. But yeah. Also, there's a lot of conflicting information and stuff. So Robert Pattinson's Batman is coming to Gunn's DC universe, but Gunn is denying that. So what I think is going to happen is they're going to make the Batman 2, but then that's it. Then I think it's also going to be like a new Batman or something. I don't really know. Same thing with the Joker 2, because those movies are happening, and the previous movies did really well, so I think they see no reason to cancel it right now. But again, it just seems kind of weird if James Gunn is going to be doing a new universe, and then he's like, oh, here's the Batman 2, but then it's like, oh no, this doesn't count though. So it's going to be weird.
Yeah, I think that with the solo, I guess, like Gotham projects that are going on right now, those are probably going to happen, and then there may not be any more, unfortunately. Depending on how well those do, I'm sure that they're going to do great. I hope. Matt Reeves is obviously very much hands on deck. He knows these characters. He knows Gotham, and obviously the Batman was a really, really good superhero movie and a really, really good Batman movie. We haven't had a solid solo Batman film we haven't had any solo Batman films since The Dark Knight Rises. So having the Batman come out with Robert Pattinson showing that he can take on this character was phenomenal. And, James Gunn has said that, Batman is going to play a huge part in his DCU, but we don't know who's that going to be. Obviously, certain reports have said that Matt Reeves' Batman is going to take that place, but it looks like that's not going to happen, because I feel like that would be totally different and sort of not work, in my opinion, because like we said previously on this podcast, where it's like the DC stuff has sort of just been all over the place. They've just been doing whatever movies that they want, with whichever characters they want, etc., which I think has worked for them, as of right now. But it looks like that, now that they want to sort of build a universe sort of like what the MCU has built, but just now within 2022, it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to start over.
Right, like, yeah, it's just interesting to see like what's gonna happen. Mostly because I really like Robert Pattinson as Batman. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed. Honestly, of all the DC stuff that has come out recently, I the Joker and the Batman have been very good. I mean, I really like James Gunn's Suicide Squad as well. So hopefully that's an indication of what we're gonna be getting in the future. But it kind of sucks that those movies have to kind of go away as well. But I guess that's just the way things are going to be. And, the big thing is, Henry Cavill is not going to be returning as Superman as well. This is the thing that he got the most heat for,
Understandably so.
Yeah. So, like, I guess, like, if you're going to have a different sort of vision for Superman, it kind of makes sense. Like, I know it sucks. I mean, I wasn't too attached because, I mean, one, I didn't really like Man of Steel that much when it first came out. And two, I didn't even watch Batman vs. Superman or Justice League, so I wasn't like that attached. But I still, he's a cool dude. He's a good actor. He looks like Superman. But if this is not what he wants, then I guess that's just not what he wants,
Yeah, I mean, like, now, or when he returned as Superman, it was under different leadership. So it was a different situation for him to be like, do I really want to return as Superman? Fuck yeah, whatever. You know what? I'll do this cameo within Black Adam. Spoiler, by the way, if you didn't know, when he did his whole announcement on Instagram anyway. So, now that he is officially not returning as Superman, it's like, that sucks. Because it was like a month ago that it was announced that, hey, look, he's coming back. Like, this is super cool.
The debate,
And now it's like, oh no, he's not playing him. Which sucks because he also left The Witcher to possibly pursue this. So now it's like, okay, what is he going to do? I know that he has that Warhammer series going on.
Yeah, so he's doing a Warhammer thing now.
So it looks like that he's attached to that, because if you guys don't know, Henry Cavill's a PC gamer.
He's a big nerd, yeah.
he is a fucking nerd. So, seeing him possibly do that is going to be pretty cool. But I think that him playing as Superman would have been also equally as cool, because obviously he is excited for the character. Whether you like those movies or not, you cannot deny that he is not excited to play Superman. And I've read Twitter replies and sort of seen what I guess like Superman Twitterverse, if that is even a thing, what they wanted to see from another Superman movie, and it's sort of just like Superman in his prime, which is sort of like what Henry Cavill would have been if they made a Man of Steel 2, hopefully. We obviously don't know what that pitch was or anything about it, but yeah, it sucks. And I mean, Henry Cavill obviously very much understands. At least James Gunn and Peter Safran actually talked to him about it and sort of was like, you were not going to be returning, instead of just being like, here's an email saying you're not going to return. It's very much a professional thing for them to, do that and sort of be like, hey, we still want you within the DC universe, whether that's a alternate version of Superman or a whole new character. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it sucks. I know that I would have loved to see him in Man of Steel 2. I think that movie would have done great if it was any good anyways, because I know that a lot of people are sort of hesitant on DC movies in particular, especially Superman, because I feel like most people view Superman as a boring character. But
I do. Yeah,
I think
I don't like Superman very much.
I think Superman does have some interesting stories that have not been read by a vast majority of people, including myself. I have not read a lot of Superman things, but I feel like that him as a character is pretty interesting. But yeah, Gunn is going to be writing one of the Superman movies, the one that Henry Cavill will not be in. It'll be focusing on a younger Clark Kent, and there will also be another Superman movie that will focus on a black Superman. So yeah, I mean, me personally, I think it's a little weird that James Gunn is sort of like being like the head honcho of like sort of like directing everything, making all of these big choices, but he's also writing for these movies as well, which I think can be a little maybe stressful on him, maybe not. Maybe that's a little bit of not necessarily conflict of interest, but maybe a little bit too much power within this sort of like DC universe, if you will. But maybe he just has a very, very particular vision of what he wants the Superman to be. And you know what? If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. You know what? DC sort of gave him the keys to the kingdom, so he's going to use those keys as much as possible. So, I mean, the only thing I could really hope is that this movie's good.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I honestly think having a strong central figure is kind of what the DCU needs at this point. You know, like Kevin Feige and stuff, you know, they did a pretty good job. Or he did a pretty good job, like just sort of like bringing the MCU all together. Obviously now it's a little, you know, it's a little more not as great because, you know, after Thanos and stuff. But, you know, up until Thanos, it was like very solid. You know, obviously there was some, you know, not some great stuff on the way, but he did a good job sort of maintaining a central storyline and vision of what the series was going to be. So I hope that James Gunn could do the same thing. And maybe he just wants to, maybe he just enjoys writing as well, because that's kind of what, you know, he does anyway, right? So maybe he just wants to like, okay, I want to have my hand on it as well. You know, he wants to be down the trenches too, I guess, besides just like directing everyone to do whatever he wants. So like he wants to like maybe make like a good sort of impression as well, I guess. But either way, I have faith. You know, I do love all James Gunn's like, you know, work on the MCU and stuff. You know, every time he's a part of the MCU writing or whatever, I think it's usually pretty good. So I have faith. You know, I mean, I really like the Suicide Squad a lot, and he did that one, and I thought that was great. So hopefully he could carry that energy into the rest of the DCU, and maybe it's something the MCU could have a rival with, because honestly I do think the MCU kind of needs like a rival at this point, because you know, as we see the MCU's getting, you know, maybe a little meandering a bit. So I think like having something to really push them forward more is good, because, you know, competition is always a good thing, and DC has always been kind of, you know, obviously they're supposed to be rivals, but DC in the movie space has always been kind of there, like not really doing much besides Batman. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how James Gunn is going to evolve the DCU. It's really cool to see him so active and talking about it on Twitter as well. Like that's pretty cool. Like, you know, he's just saying everything like, hey, this is what I'm going to do and stuff. I think that's a really cool amount of transparency to see that we don't really see with the MCU, you know, besides like D23 and stuff. So, honestly, hoping it's good. I want the DCU to be good, you know, besides Batman. So hopefully they can make me care.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that he's writing for it, because it's like, what if he gets like a director, right? And then he's like, okay, well, you are directing the film, but I'm also your boss, and I wrote the film. So,
right, yeah, that's
you know, right. It's gonna be very interesting, I guess, like power dynamics. Whoever he gets to direct, he must really, really trust that person. If it's not himself directing it as well, which he has not yet confirmed yet. So, but just last bit of DC stuff. Ben Affleck is interested in directing a DC project. James Gunn is just trying to figure out which project would be best fit for him. So. Yeah, that seems pretty cool. Obviously, people love Ben Affleck's Batman, for better or for worse. I mean, me personally, I'm not too crazy about it. You know, you know, in Batman vs Superman, I think he was okay. That's about it. I don't necessarily hate him, but you know, I was just like, the movie's kind of bad, so I was like, okay, how's his portrayal of Batman? It's okay. You know, it's not the worst thing, but yeah.
I never watched those movies, so I have no opinion.
All right, so moving on to the last bit of the show, we're going to be doing our MCU Phase 4 tier list. What we are here tiering today is the Marvel Phase 4. Pretty much everything, movies and TV shows wise. The only thing that is missing here is I Am Groot shorts, which are just fun, cute little shorts that you can watch on Disney+. So before we jump into it, Damian, what do you think about Phase 4? Just them introducing all of the TV shows and also implementing the movies as sort of like big events?
I think it's sort of a mixed bag of stuff. I think I like a lot of stuff, but I don't think I really hated anything this phase, but it definitely felt like things could have been better. I think things like Thor and Doctor Strange, those are probably the two biggest disappointments for a lot of people. That they could just ended up being a lot better than they were. A lot of the shows, as we talked about ad nauseum, ended not as good as they started and stuff. Maybe they had strong beginnings, but the endings weren't as great. So I definitely think like phase 4 was kind of like sort of a mixed bag. And I kind of expected it to not be as strong as the last phase, obviously, because, we're kind of, hopping out from Endgame and stuff. But yeah, I think this phase was a lot rougher than a lot of people thought it was going to be. So, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, me personally, I think that phase 4, because they were introducing TV shows into the mix, it definitely made a lot of people sort of winter off on Marvel stuff. Understandably so, because there was a lot of just bullshit in between. There's a lot of TV shows that you have to watch, and you have to keep up with it every single week, and you have to try to not get spoiled if you're actually interested in it. So a lot of people fell off, and not just because of the amount of content. It's also just because Endgame happened. So people are like, what is there a reason for me to continue watching all of these shows if there's nothing really for me to look forward to? Obviously, people went to go see the movies like Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, but when it comes to the TV shows, I feel like a lot less people watch those, but we'll talk about those in depth once again. And we'll also give our first thoughts on Eternals and the Guardian special. So I guess we'll just go in order and however the fucking tier list thing ported these in. So Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So obviously this is Marvel's crack at this character in particular, which is pretty cool. Obviously, as a Asian American myself, awesome to see another Asian movie that just has a full-on Asian cast. And yeah, I honestly really liked it when I saw it in theaters. It's been a while since I've seen it. So obviously it's all coming from memory, but I think that this is very much a solid A tier movie. I can't necessarily put it in S for me personally, even though, I really do like what they did with this character and sort of represented, I guess, like Asian culture very, very well in like a superhero context, if you will. But yeah, I really did enjoy Shang-Chi. I think that this is definitely one of the better Marvel movies that people should definitely check out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's not S tier, but I do agree with it being A tier. I think the action was super great. I think they did a great job introducing him. Obviously, having more Asian American stuff is really cool to see as well. Just with like Black Panther, they introduced the whole culture and stuff to it. I really like, all the, I guess, like the, like, I guess, I don't know what you call it, like the spiritualism stuff going on with the whole, and it's been a while since I watched it as well. So like, yeah, like I thought that stuff was really neat as well. I think it was just a great introduction to a hero. And I really enjoyed it. I think the side characters were a lot of fun as well. And again, like I said, the action was really good. I think the action really sets it apart just because it's a lot more martial artsy and stuff. And it made a lot of the fights really fun to watch. It was definitely like the better of the MCU like theatrical movies that came out of this phase. So yeah, I agree with it being on A.
All right, so moving on from there, we're going to get right into it. So me and Damian both did not see Eternals when it initially came out. No. So we gave ourselves some homework, and we were like, all right, let's watch Eternals on Disney+. So I watched it, and Damian watched it. So I guess I'll just give my thoughts real quick. Okay. It was not as bad as I expected, honestly. It was not the dumpster fire that I thought it was going to be. I actually enjoyed it a little bit because I was familiar with some of the actors from Game of Thrones.
Yes, yeah.
But overall, like as a movie, I can see why people really don't like it because it's like you're introducing all of these fucking characters and the way the story's paced out, it's like it's jumping between the past and the present so frequently, and like you have to sort of give everyone a reason why they should care for these characters, which is why they're placing these flashback sequences in certain places. And then fucking Isaac does that whole twist at the end, and I'm just like, all right, well, fuck this guy then. Like, what the hell? This guy's a simp for his boss or whatever. I don't know what the hell's going on. But Yeah, I mean, like overall, Eternals, like I think for what it did, I think it did it okay. On a good day, I would put it at B, but I think overall, I'm gonna put it at C.
Okay, I
But
was gonna say I'm not putting that shit on B. Okay, so I also didn't hate this as much as I thought I was going to, but I also don't like. I don't really feel anything for this movie. Like I don't really like it, and I don't really like hate it as much. Like it's just okay. Honestly, the movie just feels like super awkward to me. Like a lot of the like acting feels like kind of weird. The vibe of the movie just feels really weird. I don't really know what to like pin it on. Also, this movie probably has the worst of the Marvel humor of like bad timing. Like someone would die and it's like, oh, that just happened. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, I definitely think this movie definitely has the worst of that syndrome that I've ever seen in any Marvel movie. It's pretty weird. And honestly, like the vibe of it just feels like a DC movie to me. Like it really does just feel like very off-brand, not Marvel movie, which usually is a good thing for these like movies because a lot of the MCU stuff can feel very samey, but for this case, it's like it kind of just feels like a DC movie. I think a lot of the I agree. There's just too many characters. There's too many things to like do in this amount of time. I didn't really find a lot of characters that interesting in general. Like, I felt like the main girl, like the main girl you follow that could turn people into trees or whatever. I feel like she doesn't really do a whole lot either. Yeah, Cersei or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like she didn't really do much. Icarus didn't really, like, he just became evil, I guess, at the end. But a lot of it was just super weird. And I feel like the biggest reason you would watch this is to, like, sort of get the idea of the like celestials and stuff, because I feel like that's gonna be important with Galactus and stuff. But besides that, it definitely feels very awkward, and I would definitely give it a C. I think it belongs on C.
Yeah.
Again, I think there's some cool things to it. Like I think like the celestials and like the concept of the Eternals is kind of cool. Even though the plot's kind of just Gurren Lagann and like Mass Effect, like where the population gets to a certain point and then you kind of wipe them out and a new life starts. It's literally just Mass Effect and Gurren Lagann, but that's okay. I think for what it does okay, but I feel like a lot of the characters and stuff feel very meh. So yeah, I think C is kind of a good place to put it.
Yeah, I think one of the main falters of just like the Eternals like as characters is that like most of their abilities are kind of just like dog shit.
Yeah,
you know?
you have like not Superman. You have like, oh, I could punch things. I could go fast. It's very basic abilities and stuff. Also, the romance was like very awkward in this movie too. Like also like the little girl, the sprite is like, oh, I like Icarus now. I'm like, okay, you're like 4, but okay. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the romance stuff felt very awkward as well. I don't know. To me, it just felt like a very uncomfortable movie to watch. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, vibes. Like when you have these characters that have lived for thousands and thousands of years, and you have to cram it into a over 2 hours and 30 minute sort of runtime, it's like, who are we really going to focus on and who's going to get shafted kind of thing, Yeah. So, obviously some characters got more spotlight than others, but I think overall, like as a movie, like even like as like a general movie, I could see why people came out of this and was like, that was fucking dog shit. I wasted 3 hours watching that, but I enjoyed watching it just because I was watching it with my girlfriend and she was able to give me more context as to what was going on, and she's seen it before, but even then when she was watching it, she was like, I forgot this happened, I don't know what the hell's going on. Oh yeah, this character does this, and I was like, oh okay, all right, yeah. So,
yeah, I just feel like some of the characters were just there to be a joke or just to just be there. I really didn't like the Joker kid till the end. Like the kid's like, oh, like I hate everyone. Then he like helps it. I don't know. The whole movie was just kind of weird. It was alright, I guess, but I think C is kind of an appropriate place to put it.
All right, so next movie we got here is Spider-Man: No Way Home. This was definitely one of the most anticipated movies of last year. Just because there was so much shit going on with it, with the whole Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back. Spoilers, by the way, if you didn't know.
Yeah, if you didn't know.
But finally seeing this movie in theaters, even though COVID was still very much present within the world. Obviously, it's not around as much. But yeah, just seeing that in theaters and then seeing it the following day as well. Just because, when it comes to these big MCU movies that are going to have a lot of crowd reactions, I want to see them multiple times. Seeing it was great. I fucking loved it. Not just because this was still Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie, very much so, but they were able to bring in these old actors and sort of help him guide him back into becoming Spider-Man, and the whole ending with him sort of resetting and actually becoming Peter Parker and becoming Spider-Man, where he's literally all by himself. He has no one to really look after him. And yeah, Peter Parker has a shitty life. Let's fucking go. You know, like
We
that is
predicted
something
that
that
so long ago. Like, I'm
that
proud.
is something that a lot of people wanted for this Peter Parker, because a lot of people were complaining about Tony Stark Jr., this and that, you know. So hopefully they continue with that, because I know that there's a lot of rumors going around about Zendaya wanting to come back and, you know, certain characters coming back for it. But I hope with this new Spider-Man trilogy that they do with Tom Holland, they don't retread any of that stuff, or not as heavily, because I feel like what makes this reset so important, and what makes the ending of No Way Home so important, is that they're able to do everything without the Avengers or anything like that tied to Spider-Man, which I think is what makes the character so great.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think this movie, not only did it have great fan service, obviously, you know, I think, you know, if you're a fan from the beginning, or I guess from the beginning of the movies, you know, from the, what you call it, Tobey Maguire era to now, is obviously going to be fantastic. But I think it does a lot for Tom Holland's character, like everything you just said, you know, him being by himself, not having the Avengers to rely on and all that. Like, I think that was just perfect, sort of like to a whole ass character arc for Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I really enjoyed where it went. You know, it ended in a pretty like sad note, but I think it ended in like a way that sort of like, yeah, this is Spider-Man now. You know, like all of this was just his origin story till now, and I thought that was really good. And you know, besides that, like I said, the fan service was fantastic. I know some people are kind of more down on this movie just because they say, oh, it's carried by that. But I'm like, I don't know. I think even without the fan service, I think the movie is still really good. You know, it gave a lot of the villains that weren't as good last time, like, you know, Electro and stuff, like, you know, make them a lot better in this iteration. You know, because, you know, Jamie Foxx's Electro and Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a little weird. So I'm glad they really fixed it up in this movie. You know, freaking Goblin was fantastic in this as well. Like, they did a great job. And, you know, kind of just having Goblin be the main villain of like sort of this final arc of this Spider-Man is really cool, because, you know, it's Goblin. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to see that as well. So yeah, I honestly thought like this movie did everything it had to really well. Even if it does have a lot of, I guess, nostalgia bait, it does it well. And it's definitely one of the best MC movies of this phase. I mean, I'll put an S, I guess. Like, I don't know overall if I'll put an S if it's like an overall ranking, but in terms of this phase, it's definitely like an S. I mean, I loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we're both Spider-Man fanboys.
Yeah,
so.
okay. You know, we're biased, all right? But still, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie does a lot of stuff that really should not have come together, but really they were able to bring everyone in, and it was great. The final product, you know, it could have been bad. It honestly could have been really, really bad. But I think what they did with redeeming Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, with redeeming Electro and all of the other characters, I think that was also a very nice touch. On top of capping off of now Tom Holland's trilogy origin story, which I think wasn't their intention at first. In my opinion, I think that wasn't their intention with, you know, this home trilogy.
No,
but I think
probably
once they got to the final one, they were like, all right, yeah, this is now his origin story, now that they were able to bring in the other Spider-Man and, you know, kill off Aunt May and shit like that. So but yeah. All right, moving on, we got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So obviously we have Sam Raimi back directing a superhero movie, which is very, very exciting, which obviously brought some controversy for some people, which were like, this is directed really weird. This editing choice is really off. Why did Wong fade in here? And I'm like, that's Sam Raimi for you. What can I say? But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think that because of Sam Raimi's direction, and also just like getting to know Doctor Strange as a character between his first movie and all of the Avengers movies and in Spider-Man was very, very cool. I think that having this movie to sort of cap that off and sort of be like the epilogue to No Way Home in a sense, but also be its own movie with sort of following up to WandaVision, which we will talk about later, was very, very good. I really enjoyed this movie. I think that this is definitely one of the better MCU movies. I might put it in S, but we'll just have to come to that conclusion together.
I don't know if I put it S, but I really did like this movie a lot more than I thought. And, you know, I think because the general perception was like, oh, this movie sucks and stuff. But I don't know. I thought a lot of things people complained about was just, you know, Sam Raimi's style of like movie making being like a little more hokey and cheesy. And, you know, I know some people say, oh, like it's bad anyway. But I'm like, I don't know. I think it gives a very distinct style. Like I was saying before with Eternals, where, you know, I felt like that movie was kind of in the bad way, where it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. This movie feels like in a good way, where it's like, oh yeah, this is very different from, you know, all the other Marvel movies with having a little more horror to it, you know, having the weird editing style and stuff. You know, it feels very much like a Sam Raimi movie, and I really enjoyed that. You know, I think you know, Doctor Strange's character had some cool character development. Again, there was you know, some other Easter eggs and, you know, cameos and stuff that were fun as well. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the movie as well, and I really don't. Like, I get the hate, I guess, but like I feel like it doesn't feel as deserved as like something like Thor, where I could definitely see more of the complaints more. I like that movie more than the average person as well, but I could definitely see the faults in that movie more than this one. This one feels more like just like if you don't like Sam Raimi as much, you know. But and again, the movie isn't perfect. Like there are issues with it, but I definitely feel like it's definitely also one of the better Phase 4 movies, and I feel like I don't really understand the hate for it as much as I do for like Thor and stuff. So yeah, I would put it A personally.
Okay. I mean, you know, when it comes to the cameos and stuff, I think that was like a whole other sort of point to make, because people were looking forward to this movie expecting like Cameo City, you know, like there's going to be all of these, you know, different stuff that's going on and whatnot. But in reality, it was just John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic as like the big one, and also having what's his name come back as Professor X, and then just, you know, killing them all off 5 minutes later, you know.
Right.
You know, seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic was awesome. That was the highlight for me personally. I got so excited when I saw that in theaters, and I think that was a lot of people's fan cast for a while. And you know, it looks like that he may not be returning, but that's fine. I got my, you know, sort of fan service within
5
that
minutes
movie.
of it,
before he got turned into spaghetti. But hey, you know what? It's fine. We didn't talk about Wanda's arc here, but, you know, I think that Wanda as a character, you know, having her be the main villain was so cool. I think that is something that more movies should do.
Yeah, I honestly thought that was like the best part of the movie, because you know, and you know, people are like, oh, that doesn't make sense or whatever. I'm like, bro, did you not watch WandaVision? I mean, like all of it makes sense.
They probably did it.
Yeah, but all of it makes sense for her to go like psycho and stuff. And I really enjoyed when a villain, you know, and she was she was a hero for a very long time. Like obviously since Ultron and stuff, she was like, you know, like one of the major faces of the MCU and stuff. But to her, just be like the major villain and be like super like violent about everything, I thought that was really cool, and it made sense for her story as well. It's not like she just did it for no reason. Like if you watch WandaVision, it makes sense how she became like this. So yeah, I definitely like that direction they did with this, because you know, it felt like a very unsafe decision for the MCU to do, and I really like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that character arc as well.
Yeah, I think that was definitely something that a lot of people didn't see coming, and you know, some people liked it, some people didn't. That's another gripe with this movie as well. This is the first MCU movie that really pulls from the shows, and I think that sort of was a wake-up call for Disney to be like, oh, not everyone's watching these shows,
right?
You know, kind of thing, which I think that they should have expected to begin with. But yeah, you know, overall, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, definitely one of the better MCU movies within my top 2 for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, so next is Thor.
Yep, we got Thor: Love and Thunder. So, Damian, why do you like it more than the average person before I rip it a new one?
I just feel like it's definitely like worse than Ragnarok, like by a lot. But I don't know why. I just like when I was watching it, I guess I was still like, oh, okay, it's kind of funny or whatever. But after I watched, you know, I saw the Reddit reactions and like Reddit or whatever, I started to see like, okay, I could definitely see what people are talking about. You know, obviously like this special effects and stuff being very, you know, they submitted that to the Oscars for best visual effects.
Yeah, I know. They're fucking ballsy.
Yeah,
Holy
I'm like,
shit.
why would you do that? But yeah, I could definitely see, you know, a lot of things also felt kind of rushed and stuff. And like, I definitely feel like it could have been a lot better for what it was. But I don't know. I felt like I ended up having an okay time with it. Like I didn't hate it as much as everyone else. Definitely like not great, but I definitely still found some things to be enjoyed with it. But I could definitely see why people don't like it. So yeah.
I mean, like my thing with it is that like, so they brought back Natalie Portman to play Jane Foster. And I'm like, okay, like that's cool. Like she's going to be Lady Thor. Like that's going to be dope. Maybe she's going to be the next Thor because, you know, Chris Hemsworth may not want to be Thor anymore. So they're going to bring her in.
Yeah.
Okay. She has this story arc with cancer. And I'm totally fine with that, obviously. Like that is like a fine story arc to show and tell. And, you know, she was a warrior and she was battling cancer. That's why she went to Valhalla. And then they brought in Christian Bale to play the main villain, and they introduced him to be like the God Killer but we don't see him kill any gods. You know, we just hear about it. He just killed like 5 of them over there. I'm like, okay, all right. Can you like show him doing that? Like that would be like pretty cool to like really build up this villain to be like, hey, like this guy is a fucking threat and Thor should not, you know, sort of take him lightly. And then you have Taika Waititi's sort of like direction with it, where he's like sort of bullshitting and, you know, with the screaming goats and his humor and the terrible CGI. And it's like, okay, yeah, this movie is really not that good at the end of the day. Like, I really was watching this movie just not liking it. I was just like, oh my God, there's like 20 different things wrong with it. And my girlfriend Emma, once again, was like, shut the fuck up. Can you enjoy something for once? I think is what she said. I was like, no, but yeah, you know.
Mean, I definitely agree with you being like, I definitely feel like the villain was definitely really underutilized, because I actually really enjoyed that fight on like that Mario planet they were doing. Like that was pretty cool. But then that's about it. Like they don't really do a whole lot. And then they have the whole scene with the kids are like killing everyone and stuff.
That was just like some bullshit they pulled out of their ass. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, it definitely feels like, I don't even know what really happened. Like, I feel like Ragnarok had the perfect balance between like sort of comedy and everything else. This movie definitely felt like a shitpost, or like more like, it really did feel like a parody of what an MCU movie is. And I don't really know why he went that direction. If he just did Ragnarok again, just with like sort of moving the characters forward, that would have been fine. I don't think anyone would have complained. But it definitely felt like he was kind of over the MCU at this point. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna do something like this. I'm like, okay. I still didn't hate it, but I could definitely see why people don't like it as much. But yeah,
it is not a great movie. It is on par with Ant-Man 2, in my opinion. And Ant-Man 2 is pretty bad. I still think Ant-Man 2 is the worst modern MCU movie.
I still haven't watched that movie. So
good. Don't. Even before you watch Ant-Man 3, you don't need to know anything, honestly. I think Avengers Endgame kind of explained everything decently well.
Yeah, but, Quantum Realm and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. But where would you put this? I would definitely put it in D, but if you want to put it in C, we could put it in C.
I'll give you D. You can put it in D.
All right, cool, nice.
I was gonna put Eternals in D, but like I didn't hate it as much as I thought. So I still personally don't like Eternals more than Thor, but I don't know. I feel like these are definitely the lowest of the movies in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think this is fair. All
right. Moving on, we got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So this is obviously the newest MCU movie. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you could go first. I guess I was talking.
It's all good. Okay, so Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think that as a love letter to Chadwick Boseman, sort of honoring his character and sort of honoring his role within these movies, it was a fantastic movie. They really respected him and sort of respected what the Black Panther is, and I think that was sort of like what this movie was all about, sort of like that recovery process with Wakanda and sort of like going through that. You know, the story beats are obviously them sort of trying to play around the fact that he is no longer with us. But I think that what they were able to come out with it was really, really good. And having the Namor group sort of come in and sort of be like the other side of Wakanda, to be like, hey, you guys exposed what vibranium is, and now we're fucked. So, and sort of show like what would have happened if Wakanda went a different route and sort of outlashed at the world for how they were treated and stuff like that. I think that was like a very interesting dynamic to have. And yeah, Wakanda Forever, definitely one of the better MCU movies. I would definitely put it at a solid A. I could see why some people would put it in S, but I think for me personally, it's definitely A tier. The ending scene and sort of like the end credit stuff where they showed that, hey, there is a new T'Challa in the MCU with his son in there, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely heard a lot of sniffles by the end in my theater. I mean, I thought they did a great job doing what they could for this movie, because obviously when he passed away, it was like already writing it, or I think it was mostly almost done, and then all that stuff happened. So, I think they recovered it the best they could, and they made it into like a really nice tribute to him. Again, they really ride the line when you do stuff like this to be like, I guess, taking advantage of his death to like make people watch it or be like a nice tribute. And I think they did a good job it being just a nice tribute to him. Like, they didn't show him anywhere, they didn't do some weird CGI stuff or whatever. They were very respectful. I think they ended it really well for his sort of like arc and stuff. And yeah, I think all the Chadwick Boseman stuff was handled really well. A lot better than I thought it was going to be handled. Like, it kind of like blew me away. I'm like, wow, they handled that a lot better than I thought they would. So that was good. In terms of the actual story, I thought it was pretty good too. You know, I thought the Namor things were like a good parallel to Wakanda and stuff, like you said, with the vibranium and all that. You know, I'm glad it didn't kill the villain at the end, because I think the MCU always kills off like potentially good people, or not good people, but like good villains or whatever, just to be like, oh, we did it and stuff. You know, like Killmonger. Killmonger is definitely the biggest, like, sort of like, yeah, damn, we probably should have not done that. So, you know, I think they kind of are learning from that mistake and stuff. So, I would definitely, like, I don't know if I like it more than the first Black Panther or not, but it's definitely like a high A. I'll probably put it like the top of A as well. Just because, you know, obviously if everything went according to plan and, you know, Chadwick Boseman didn't pass away and stuff, like, you know, maybe like things would have been different with this movie. I don't know, either good or bad. I don't really know. But either way, I think Marvel did a good job with this movie for what they could have. And it ended up being one of the better MCU movies of this phase.
Yeah, and also introducing Ironheart before I forget as well, was great, fantastic. You know, having her be a central key figure, not just in the movie, but also within the plot, not sort of like a Spider-Man, you know, in Civil War fiasco where he was just sort of shoehorned in there. And if you really take him out, you know, you don't really miss much about the movie. But with this one, you know, she really does play a pivotal role in moving the story along, and I really did like that. And also her character was just really, really great, and I cannot wait to see what her Disney Plus series is going to offer.
Yeah, and, you know, I know Shuri's actress does a lot of questionable things in real life. You know, I don't condone anything she does, but she did a really good job in this movie. I think she was very serious. You know, she took the role very seriously. You know, a lot of the emotional scenes did feel really genuine and stuff. So I think she did a really good job at that aspect of this character. And I can see her as a Black Panther. It's just that, you know, obviously all the real life stuff is kind of controversial and stuff, but I think she did a really good job in this movie. So yeah.
Agreed. All right, moving on from there, we are going to talk about the two specials. So first up, Werewolf by Night. I think that this was a very nice breath of fresh air when it comes to the MCU directional wise, because it's very different from anything the MCU has done, not just visually because it is in black and white for the most part, but also just like it's like a horror thing, and there's blood and body parts, right? Like there was like a lot of stuff that you would not normally see within the MCU.
Yeah, it was pretty graphic. I'm like,
yeah, and also it was just directed well, and it was just done really, really nicely. And because of that, I would definitely put it maybe at the bottom of A, but definitely like a solid B in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with B, like, because you know, I think all of, like you said, it was very different from anything the MCU has done before. I think it felt very authentic to like sort of the time period they were trying to go for, like that 30s monster movie type deal. And I think it did it really well. The story was pretty interesting for what it was. You know, it didn't drag on or anything. It was very like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and there you go. I don't know how this is going to tie into everything else. It doesn't have to. Like, it could just be its own thing. Like, I'm okay with that. It doesn't, you know, we don't need to bring Werewolf Man into the MCU if we don't want to. It was just a really fun thing to have there, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I think the climax and stuff was a good time as well. Like you said, it was very, very gory for what it was for like a Disney thing. And that kind of brings my sort of excitement for things like Deadpool up. If they could really, they're like, okay, we're starting to be okay with more violent stuff. I'm like, okay, that kind of fits some characters more than others. So yeah, overall, I thought it was just a nice little surprise. You know, it kind of came out of nowhere too, but I was happy with it. So.
All right, so the other special, the one that came out most recently, just in time for the holidays, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, to sort of give more character and more context to the Guardians right before we get into Volume 3. And yeah, it was a fun little, you know, hokey little thing where they try to get Kevin Bacon and sort of have him be Peter Quill's Christmas present, and you sort of get to learn more about, what's it called, her being Peter's sister, and everything like that, sort of like the family thing. So, you know, it's a nice wholesome thing. Would I necessarily put it above B? No, not really. I would definitely put it in the same tier as Werewolf by Night. Maybe right behind it, maybe above it. I'm not exactly sure how you feel, Damian.
Yeah, I'd probably put it behind it. I mean, like, it was a fun little thing. Like, I enjoyed the jokes and stuff, and, you know, try to find Kevin Bacon and stuff. Like, I think it was just a good time. You know, I think, like, Mantis and Jax were great in it. You know, Chris Pratt definitely felt like he was phoning it in a bit. You know, he was kind of just there. He's like, okay, give me my paycheck and I'll leave. But, you know, it's just nice to see the Guardians do their stuff and have a fun, silly little story. And, you know, I'm very excited to see what they do with Guardians 3 once that comes out, because that looks like it's gonna be a lot different tone compared to the rest of the Guardian stuff. So it's nice to just see them all interact, have a good time. And yeah, I just enjoyed it overall. And just a fun little thing, not too crazy. So yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna touch on some of the TV shows, or maybe we should talk about.
You want to talk about Black Widow?
First. Yeah. Let's talk about Black Widow first before we talk about the TV show. So, I believe this was the first movie of Phase 4, if I am correct, and it is definitely the worst. It is really bad. I mean, not just because of the visual stuff, but also just like the story-wise. I mean, like, I feel like Taskmaster, like, as a villain is like pretty cool, just because we've seen Taskmaster in other things such as Spider-Man PS4, and I think that character as a side mission thing was pretty cool, but having them as a main villain within Black Widow would have been pretty dope if they actually landed the character right. But because they did like the whole MCU twist with like that being like the main villain's daughter and stuff, I'm like, okay, like, I get what you're doing here, but it doesn't necessarily land for me. And also like the visual effects and everything like that, you know, when you see what's her name, Florence Pugh's character just like on wires just like fly out, and I'm like, all right, yeah, like this movie could have been a little bit better. I think that giving us more context to Black Widow's character was cool. I really do like that stuff with all of her family, but I think overall as a movie it is not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part about the movie were like her family. Like, I really like Red Guardian and Lena and stuff. I mean, it's kind of funny with a movie called Black Widow, she really doesn't get to do like a lot. Like, she does stuff, but I feel like her character doesn't really change in any meaningful way. Plus she's dead already, so like it's kind of like such a weird movie. I know it was supposed to come out way sooner. Like, this was supposed to come out before Phase 4, I believe. And maybe that would have made more sense, I guess. But still, it still felt like a very weirdly misguided movie. Again, like you said, like visual effects is still kind of weird. Taskmaster stuff was just kind of felt like, okay, let's just have a twist here for no reason. So yeah, I'll probably put a D. But I do like the characters in it. But yeah, besides that, it was definitely one of the weaker Phase 4 movies. So yeah.
All right, so now we will talk about the TV shows. I guess we'll kind of go in order. I guess that's how they landed.
Yeah, I think this is in order.
The tier maker thing. So first up, WandaVision. This was the first ever Disney Plus series, and I think that it did it pretty well when it comes to the TV format. I think She-Hulk, we'll talk about that later. I think that series did the best sort of like televised format. Like, it really took advantage of it. But with WandaVision, you know, every single episode was really building up to something to sort of reveal that Wanda is sort of taking over this town and sort of like controlling everyone. So I think that was pretty cool. And I think that as like the first MCU show to go and give everyone a taste of what the MCU has in store when it comes to their TV series, I think that this was a very good introduction for it. I think towards the end, because of Agatha and everything like that, it definitely felt like an MCU thing by the end of it, which is a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. But yeah, I really did like also when Vision was like, I guess like kind of figuring out like what the fuck was going on. So
yeah, it's definitely like probably on my top 3 of the favorite shows, probably like number 3 if I would have to like put it somewhere. So I really liked it just because I like you said, it takes a really good advantage of it being like a TV show. That's sort of like the whole gimmick of it for the first bit of it. And again, I kind of wish it kept up with that and didn't become full MCU thing by the end, but it kind of did. So it's kind of hard to rank because I really enjoyed it in like the first bits of it. And the end, I'm like, yeah, it's still good, but like it kind of feels more generic, I guess, towards the end. So like, I don't know. It's like,
would you put it at the bottom of A, or
it's either bottom of A or like top of B. I'll let you pick where you think it should be. Okay,
I'm thinking there. I mean, like, I'm not too butthurt about what's his name, the freaking Fox actor that came in to play
Quicksilver.
Yeah, Quicksilver. Yeah. I know that was like a huge controversial
Boner
thing.
Fart or whatever his name was.
Doug Boner or
something.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like pretty big in terms of like controversies, because it was like, yo, they're mixing in the Fox stuff. Oh my god! And then it was like, okay, never mind.
This is a cameo.
So like, I could get why people were upset. I'm still like okay on it. It's like, all right, yeah, you know, they're just trolling you guys at the end of the day. So I'm not like too butthurt about it, but I know that, you know, for a lot of people that really did ruin the show, not just because of that, but also like the last few episodes were kind of bad. So
right. Yeah, like the Quicksilver stuff didn't bother me as much as other people, probably because I didn't care as much. But you know, I think them ending it with like a boner joke was a little like, okay, whatever. I thought that was really good.
All right, next we got is the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I think
Yeah.
that this was my most anticipated just because I love Captain America Winter Soldier, which was the movie that introduced Bucky and the Falcon. So having their own show together after Endgame to have the Falcon become Captain America, have Sam Wilson be Captain America, I think that that was a very good idea to have for this show. And I think overall it landed. I think this is where we get to see that a lot of these shows could have used an episode or two to really flesh things out. And this show is definitely guilty of that because, towards the end of it, when, what's his name? Mr. Walker's just running around being Captain America, being a murderous motherfucker. They're just like training and just like on a boat fixing stuff. And I'm like, I'm not sure if this should be here.
Right. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe this could have worked better as a movie because I feel like there's a lot of stuff. But I also feel like there's not a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know. It feels weird. Like, I still really enjoyed this a lot. Like, I think I liked evil Captain America quite a bit. But I feel like some things could have been a little more fleshed out, especially with like the terrorist group thing. Like, I felt like their stuff probably could have used a little more love and stuff. It's been a while since I watched it, so apologies if I'm getting anything wrong. But and like I think obviously the Bucky and Sam stuff was really well done. I like that he touched on the whole racial thing. With the Captain America when he was talking to the other black super soldier, right? Like that was the whole thing as well. Like I thought that stuff, it might have been a little not subtle, but I feel like at this point you kind of not have to be subtle for people to get stuff, so it's fine. People just don't get it at this point. So people still don't think this dude is Captain America. They're like, oh, Captain America 4, but Steve Rogers is dead. It's like, yes, but he's Captain America. So yeah,
he's Captain America.
Yeah, so you obviously have to beat it into people's heads because people are dumb, but whatever. I thought I did that stuff pretty well as well. So, I know you like this more than me. If I would probably put it top of B, like probably at the very top of it.
I very much like this show, but I would definitely agree with that ranking. There were definitely some very, very cool like fight sequences, like when Sam and Bucky were fighting the evil Captain America, Mr. Walker. So I think that stuff like that is what I will remember from the show, and also the finale when we see Sam Wilson become Captain America. That was like a very, very cool episode in my opinion, when he like has that speech with people and everything like that on live television. I really did like how the show did everything. Was it done to its greatest extent? Maybe not really. There were definitely some points that could have been better. I know that they've done a lot of censoring over the past, couple months about like the blood and stuff. I think that seeing the blood on Captain America's shield, that's like one of the images that will forever be in my head when it comes to this show in particular. That will be the first thing that I think of for this show. For better or for worse.
Yeah, I do think the show is very even. Like it's very good all around. But I think there's parts about WandaVision that I think are very unique and creative that kind of help it stand out a bit more. Even though if the end turns into MCU stuff, like I just feel like that stuff makes me rate it a bit higher than this. But it's still really good. So But yeah, so next is my favorite one. I'm biased, but I really, really liked Loki. I think this show was very creative of everything. Like I think the TVA stuff, the multiple Lokis, like, just Loki, like kind of having this whole character arc and stuff. I really, really enjoyed this. I don't know if I'll put it S or anything, or maybe I will. I don't know. I'm it's definitely A. And yeah, I just think it was definitely the show that felt like it had the most love to it, the most care put into it. I felt like all of it really hits. I know not everyone was super into the whole Sylvie and him dating part, I guess. But I thought it was fine. I mean, honestly, if Loki was going to be with anyone, it probably would be himself because he's a big narcissist. Exactly. So I feel like a lot of people are not like, they still think that's weird, and that makes sense. But I don't know. It's Loki. He's a narcissist in the end of the day. So, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, I think this show is really, really good. Just like you, I think that this is one of, if not the best Disney Plus Marvel series out right now, just because it really does have everything done really, really well, because this is a alternate version of Loki. This is not the same one that died at the end of Endgame. So when in the first episode, when he's watching that like highlight reel of his life and he sees himself die, he's like, oh shit, like this is like for real.
Yeah.
So, him trying to I guess, sort of become a better person for himself and sort of not meet that same end that that other Loki did, and sort of exploring the multiverse and seeing all of the other Lokis, not just Sylvie, but also within the last episode, seeing that classic outfit was pretty funny. That alligator or like lizard
Loki
Loki
gator thing.
yeah, that was pretty fun. But yeah, just like overall, and then also the final episode where it sort of branches off and sort of starts this multiverse saga that we are currently in. I think that is really, really important. You know, like this is definitely not just the best MCU show, but also one of the most important ones because of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm down with putting it in S because I don't see myself putting any of these other shows in S. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, me either.
But yeah, I could put some of them in A, but
I'll put an S. Like, I honestly think is the best Disney Plus Marvel show they have done. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Moving on from there, we got the What If anthology series that ended up not being a fucking anthology series.
Yeah.
Overall, like when they were first coming out with this show, I was like, okay, like this is like nice little fun, you know, like what if scenarios. You know, the first one's pretty self-explanatory. What if Peggy Carter was Captain America instead of Steve Rogers? And you see sort of like the little differences with that, and then you get into the other stuff with like Killmonger and you know, like a party Thor, and you know, what if T'Challa was Star-Lord, and et cetera, and then Marvel Zombies, which is now becoming its own show. You know, there's a lot of interesting ideas, and obviously the fucking highlight is the Doctor Strange episode. I think that is the best one in this series. You know, overall, when they started connecting them all together, I was fucking over it. I was like, I cannot believe they're doing this shit again. Like, they can't just have this show be like its own little fun thing where like nothing connects, but instead they got to connect it all together so they could beat the big Ultron Thanos creature that was created.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said. Like, I feel like it didn't have to do that, like, at all. And if anything, it made it way weaker. And, you know, just with anthology things in general, it's always going to be really uneven, just how it is. You know, I think the episodes that were really, really good are really, really good. Like the Doctor Strange one was like very good, like unironically very good. But you know, then you have like the MCU zombie ones, which was very weird and like really awkward with how it did humor and stuff. And then when they all team up at the end, I'm like, okay, well, it's not really anthology anymore. It's kind of just its own thing, I guess. So yeah, I definitely think it was a fun little experiment, and it's kind of, they're doing like another season of this, aren't they, or something?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is really weird. I don't know why you would do that, but either way, I think it's like a C. But because I do think some.
Would you put it above Eternals though?
I mean, kind of. Like I give you Eternals at C. But all right, Hawkeye. Right? Yeah, yes, Hawkeye. So, honestly, I can't really remember much of what happens in this.
Ah, shit. I love Hawkeye.
So, I mean, I liked it. I remember liking it. I don't know why. I just can't remember as much. Like, obviously, I like Kate Bishop. You know, I thought she was really good in this movie, in this TV show. I really did like, honestly, all the characters and stuff. I just forgot, like, what was the plot.
What was the plot?
Yeah, it was them stopping, like, something.
They were trying to resolve, like, the Ronin stuff. And
right. Okay, yeah.
And then Haley Steinfeld's character, Kate Bishop, she sort of was like, but like my stepdad's like doing like this weird stuff. And then they were trying to figure that out. And then I believe Florence Pugh's character, I keep forgetting her name, you know, comes in and does some other spy stuff. So,
okay,
you know,
I remember now.
There was definitely a lot going on, and then it was revealed that Kate Bishop's mom was like sort of in on it.
Right, yeah. Okay,
and then,
I remember.
And then Kingpin shows up, and I'm like, let's fucking go, Kingpin, let's go.
Yeah.
So
I sort of feel the same way I feel with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like it's like a really good, you know, sort of this, I don't know what you call it, like this genre of the MCU. I guess like the more spy type stuff or action, more grounded based stuff. And I thought it was really good. And I really like how Hawkeye, you know, sort of warmed up to Kate Bishop and like how they dealt with his sort of stuff in the past with the Ronin and stuff. And I felt like that was always like kind of a weird thing they brought up in Endgame, right? I think it was Endgame. He's like, don't give me hope or whatever. Like that's the most I remember from that. So yeah, I feel like that stuff was done pretty well. And you know, I think Hawkeye's always been a very underutilized character to begin with. Ever since since MCU started getting more and more characters, he's definitely felt like, yeah, I'm just a guy with a bow and arrow. So I felt like this show really gave him enough room to breathe and stuff. I would definitely put it like maybe behind Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I think Falcon and Winter Soldier did some stuff better, but I think overall it was still really good. It kind of felt more of like, same of that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. That's respectable. Yeah, it's definitely on the same level as Falcon and Winter Soldier, in my opinion.
Honestly, they would probably be like about the same. Yeah. So.
Yeah, pretty much, because like they're both grounded stories. They're both sort of introducing a new. Well, not necessarily with Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's just about Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. With the Hawkeye show, it's about Haley Steinfeld becoming Kate Bishop, aka Hawkeye, later down the road. Because as we see, Jeremy Renner is getting a little old. So
yeah,
I'm really glad that we were able to see these two characters sort of warm up to each other and sort of become like a mentor and sort of mentee kind of deal. And yeah, I just overall really enjoyed the show. This is. Like I said, with Falcon and Winter Soldier, this is another show that could have used 1 or 2 more episodes, because there were deleted scenes with Kingpin showing, his like relationship with the deaf girl. I forget her name.
Echo.
But Echo. Just showing that there was a relationship there and there was stuff going on there, but it was just only like alluded to. So when he drops in the final episode, as like the big surprise and sort of like, oh my god, like the Netflix stuff is coming to the mainline MCU. It's like, well, we don't really know this character for like general audiences like Damian. For me, for example, I'm like, yeah, let's fucking go. This is Kingpin. Let's go. So yeah, I mean, I really like the show, not just because of Haley Steinfeld and Kingpin, or should I say because of those two in particular.
I definitely think it's probably the show out of all of these that probably could have benefited from having like an extra episode or two. I think it was shorter than the usual one, right? I forgot.
Possibly. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah, either way, I definitely thought I could have used an extra episode or two, but yeah, it was still pretty good.
Moon Knight's also another one guilty of that.
Yeah, so Moon Knight is also another one. I really liked Moon Knight, but I also felt like it could have also used more towards the end as well. Again, like we said before, this is the theme of these Disney Plus shows. But I actually really like Moon Knight. Moon Knight, if I had to like put my top 3, it probably would be Loki, WandaVision, and Moon Knight. Even though I think Moon Knight has more wrong with it than like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. I just really like the new hero, sort of like the new Egyptian things to bring in, all this wacky shit. I really like, Moon Knight himself and all his, his dual personality and stuff. Like, I thought that stuff was like really cool and stuff. I mean, I know that sounds bad because it's like a mental illness or whatever, but I thought the way they portrayed it was kind of cool and stuff. Again, I don't know how accurate that is to like actual split personalities or whatever, but like in terms of this, I thought it was like a cool thing. So, I ended up really enjoying it, but it does have a lot of flaws, so.
Yeah. I think that Moon Knight started off really strong because there was that mystery element of like what the fuck's happening, because he'll go to bed and then he'll wake up and then there's blood on his hand. It's like holy shit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think as the show went on, as we were sort of unraveling like the mystery box, it was like, okay, like this is sort of like the same old kind of like MCU thing. Well, not necessarily, but like you said, there's like the Egyptian gods, and we're sort of like learning about his split personality, and we're learning about his backstory and everything like that, and why he has 2 different personalities. But I think for me personally, because this was like so built up by Kevin Feige and everyone about this being sort of like the equivalent of like Daredevil, like the Netflix Daredevil series, that when it came out, it was like, it was kind of mid in my opinion. I was like, I guess I set myself up for disappointment, but in the end, it was like Kevin Feige was like, there was like this one scene that was like so hard to watch, and I'm like, I watched the whole show, and like there was not one action scene that I was like, that was kind of grueling,
Yeah, for action, I don't know what he's talking about for that. Because it wasn't like, I don't remember it being like violent or anything. Like,
yeah, it wasn't like that crazy action wise, but I think like story wise, it was definitely like pretty cool and very interesting.
It definitely got carried by what's his face,
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac and stuff. Like, I think he was great, and like all his like, I think it was the episode before the finale. That was like, that kind of shot it up for me, for being like one of my more favorite ones. But yeah, structurally and stuff, like, or just with the show and stuff, like, it's definitely like lesser than the Falcon Winter Soldier and like Hawkeye and stuff, and maybe even Miss Marvel. But I ended up liking it just because of that. I mean, I would probably put it like lower B tier. Like, I don't know where you want to put it. Like, I'll let you pick. It's definitely below those 2, yeah. But for me personally, I did enjoy what it was trying to do. So
yeah, Agreed. Miss Marvel. So this one is a very interesting one just because there was a lot of controversy going into it from comic book readers like myself. That was like, they're changing up her powers. Uh-oh, what the fuck are they doing? They're not stretchy anymore.
Right.
They like cosmic and stuff. But once the show actually started and they sort of explained why they'd made those choices as to why her powers were all cosmic, and it sort of, goes back into like her family lineage and sort of like her culture and everything like that. I'm like, okay, like that makes sense. Like I'm a lot more down with this show now that I've watched it, but definitely going into it, I was like, oh, like this is going to be a little rough. But it definitely brings in that sort of like coming of age story, that sort of kid personality within the MCU. And I really do like that because the main actress, she is a fan of these movies. So seeing her actually be in here is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, overall, as a fan of the first comic book run of Miss Marvel and sort of how they adapted this character, I'm all for it. I really do like what they did with it. I think that this is one of the MCU shows that actually may or may not have needed an extra episode or two. I think that this was actually structured pretty well. Maybe some things moved a little faster than others, but then again, that comes into the fact that there's only like 8 episodes to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely the weakest thing about it was like the whole weird different dimension thing, and then it kind of wrapped up really fast, I felt.
Yeah.
To turn to like PS3 skeletons and like died or something. Yeah, I thought that stuff definitely could use more, but like I don't even think it was the episode. Like I just think it was like it wasn't paced well enough for that parts, but I think everything else was done really, really well. Like I really liked her, her school life, the style of it was really good. I really like how they took advantage of all the editing and all that. Like I thought that was really cool. Her powers, like you said, I mean, I didn't really know much about Miss Marvel besides she was stretchy, but obviously she's not anymore. But I think her like hard light ability like is pretty cool. I mean, she still does the stretchy things just with light instead. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know why they changed it, but whatever, I guess. Maybe they wanted her to be more powerful, and like that was a way to kind of have her power ceiling be higher than just be stretchy, I guess. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy it. I think her origin story could have, with the I forgot what it was called, the different dimension people. I think that stuff could have been a little done better. But everything else I thought was really good. I mean, where are you thinking about putting this? I'm thinking either like low A or B. But
yeah, I was thinking of low A, right behind WandaVision.
Yeah,
just because this was actually like an MCU show that didn't need the extra episodes as far as I could remember, but also it was like stylized really well and really introduced this character in a positive light.
Right. All right,
She-Hulk, which might be the most controversial one for some people.
I mean, for what it did and what it was setting out to do, I think it did it well. I think it, had some funny moments and stuff. I think the ending was really weird and stuff. Like, I get it went super meta humor, and that was kind of cool. But like, I feel like it kind of went to the detriment of its own story, where I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on anymore. But yeah, I guess for what it set out to do, it did it pretty well. But I still think it's like C, like high C, but like
very, very interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad or anything. I just think like for what it is, I think it's good. I just think the things on like I probably wouldn't put it like B. Like if I was giving this like a number scale, I'd probably give it like a 70 or something. Like
a 7 out of 10. Okay,
7 out of 10. Like I liked it. So yeah.
Okay. Respectable. I mean, this might be me loving Charlie Cox too much, but hey,
okay. If we're judging it based on that, yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, yeah, obviously, my bias for Charlie Cox and his Daredevil performance is fucking amazing, and I'm glad that the main MCU audience got to see that within She-Hulk.
That was really good
towards the end. But yeah, overall, as a show, I think that it really did introduce her character decently well. Obviously, not a lot of people know from her comic origins that she is very much a fourth wall breaking, sort of like humorous character in a sense. So when the ending sort of popped up and it was like she wanted to talk to Kevin Feige, and it ended up being that fucking robot and stuff like that. And like she was like in the writer's room and they were making jokes about CGI when like the whole unionizing thing was still going on in the news.
But just bad timing on that one.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know what kind of jokes you guys are trying to go for here, but hey. One thing that I really do like about the show is that like the writers and everyone behind the scenes knew exactly what the online reaction was going to be for everything.
They did. They really predicted
everything.
It well, yeah.
They knew everything that was going to happen with online discourse before the episodes even came out, because they were like, all right, well, we're going to have She-Hulk twerk with Megan Thee Stallion. All right, this shit's going to be funny, but I know that people are going to be mad about it. And guess what happened? People were fucking upset about it. And obviously, like me personally, I don't give a fuck. I think that shit is so funny and so hilarious. It might be out of place, but hey, like that is just what this character is. And I really do appreciate that. And I think that outside of WandaVision, this is the best show to really take advantage of the episodic TV show format. Because if this was to drop in theaters as like a She-Hulk movie, it just wouldn't work. It just would not work because every single episode is like its own single story. Obviously, the episodes do connect in a sense, but really every single episode is like its own self-contained story. Like when Daredevil shows up, that is the Daredevil episode. That is what everyone has sort of been waiting for. And they even made like a joke about it or whatever, like, guys, remember, this is my show. This is She-Hulk's show. So, if you're expecting a bunch of cameos, that's not going to happen. I'm like, all right, yeah, you know what? I get that. So, me personally, I really did like She-Hulk. I think that for what this show is, it really was a lot of fun and really did show what the potential of like a episodic MCU show could be outside of like, WandaVision and Loki, which are, arguably the top two within a lot of people's minds when it comes to MCU Disney Plus stuff. So, you're saying C, I'm saying like bottom B, we could meet someone there. Meet somewhere there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Like, I think I don't hate it. I really did enjoy it for what it was, and I think it did use the sort of TV format to its fullest, like even more than WandaVision, like you said. I think it's just more what you're looking for, right? Like, if you're like sort of like in the mood for that or whatever. And I think like watching it like weekly and stuff was fun, but still, like, I got more enjoyment out of watching the other ones. But I'll give it low B. I'll feel nice. There you go. But I still liked it. Like, but I don't know how. Like, if they do a sequel, like, or season 2, like, I'll see how it goes. So.
Yeah, because like obviously they had regular Hulk there, and at the end they sort of just introduced his son. So we don't know what the fuck's going on with there.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll use this show as a way to continue Hulk's storyline because they don't want to work with Universal and everything like that.
They're probably just going to do Planet Hulk stuff, I guess, at that point. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just because this first season was very much about the TV format, I'm kind of scared if they go into season 2, if there is a season 2 on the table with, a much more, storyline format, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, this is our MCU tier list. If you guys want to see it, you can go on YouTube and check it out for yourself as like a visual thing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Damian?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 102. I almost forgot what episode it was. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks from now.
Later.